Mr. Kwame Brown, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm awesome.
Awesome. That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. We got so much great feedback from our first conversation on your YouTube, so I knew we had to do a part two. We didn't even cover everything, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I knew we had a part two. So thanks for coming on the Rematch, basketballnews.com and Fly TV. And you know, it's funny. So a lot of the comments that I had so many different comments, so many people messaging me and everything like that. But there was a few that I kept having that made me laugh. They asked me, how many acres does Kwame have and what does he do with his farm? I was like, I don't know. You know, people just think I know everything about it. So I was like, okay, I'll ask him. How many acres do you have and what do you do with your farm?
Well, see, I don't have a farm. I just grow my own vegetables, and I cut my grass and stuff on my property. So I have various different properties. I just sold 10 acres. I have 21.9 acres in one lot. I have another, I think 5.5 in another. And then I have in Virginia, I got about 4.5 acres. And then have another 4.5 acres up here in Atlanta.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
I'm
looking at getting some more land though.
There was a few black farmers that wanted to connect with you and do, you know, I'm like the liaison now for Kwame Brown. You know what I mean? People hit me to try to connect with you. I'm like, all right, I'll ask him. I don't know what he's doing. There's a few black farmers that wanted to connect with you because they wanted to do something growing and, you know, farming and stuff like that. So,
and I definitely want to get some programming like that for the kids. So that's something that I definitely want to look into. For helping these kids learn how to grow.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. And I got my one of the packages came for my mama's cooking.
I appreciate it, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta get a bigger size. You know, I'm like 6'11". You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
You round up a little bit. I'm about 6'11". So you know, I gotta get a bigger size. You know, I ain't trying to bring sexy back. I'm a little tall. No, but you know, a lot of people really liked the way we disagreed. And I kept hearing that over and over again. Oh, we love how you guys disagreed and you talked and you agreed to disagree and you listened to other perspectives and, you know, you didn't agree all the time, but you had respect for other people's point of view. And it's so amazing because I kept hearing that over and over. But why is that so difficult for people? That's like how discussions are supposed to happen, that you listen to the person. You know what I mean? You present your view, they present their view. Sometimes you come to the middle. Sometimes you just agree to disagree and you move on. Why is that so hard for people to do?
I don't know. It was always easy for me to get along with you because you were always just straightforward on how you are. And it's like, you never like overexerted your point. You just say how you feel. And every person has a right to how they feel. Why would I get mad at you for the way that you feel?
Right.
I actually, even though when I don't agree with you sometimes, I still take the perspective. There's some good points in that perspective that I take away from because I learned to chew the meat and spit out the fat. So even in our disagreement, I can still maybe even soften my stance or it may affirm my stance on it. You know, you never know, but I don't have to disrespect you in order to get my point across. It just don't make any sense. Yeah, and just the way you always been in the locker room, you like, I've never heard a black man come up to me and say, hey, I don't like that N-word. Can you stop saying that? And so it took me off guard, but I'm just like, I get it. And I respected it so much more. I'm just like, he a real dude. I get it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, you know, but it's just a matter of being able to communicate. And we would be so much better just as a whole society if we was able to communicate. So, all right, there's a lot that I want to talk about with you. A lot I want to get into, you know, and I've been telling you, you know, write your book for the longest, right? And I'm going to say, you know, if you would give people a peek into your upcoming book, I'm going to say upcoming because it's going to come eventually, right? For your upcoming book, you know, what are some of the points that you would want to explore? Not necessarily like what are the chapters? Like this chapter would be on this chapter would be on this. What are the topics that you would want to explore for people to know Kwame Brown?
I talk about behavior a lot. So a lot of times we don't focus on behavior. We focus on a group. We focus on the individual. We focus on someone's feelings. The things that I'm talking about, the reason why it's so shocking is that when Charlemagne the God threw that plastic bunkie across the stage, Had that person sitting in that chair been a woman, we would have saw the bad behavior in that. So I've learned to not let people hide in groups. If you join a certain group in today's society, the behavior gets worse. Certain groups have certain behaviors that are atrocious, but we can't talk about it because we're scared of offending the group. But if I behave that way, you guys will say that's wrong. You're an athlete, you're a role model. So which one is it? Are we afraid of the group? Or are we all going to start going back to the basis and looking at what's decent, what's honest, what's fair and right, and let that be a through line to everybody and not just who we like? So some of the book that I talk about is, behavior and learning what's going on in society about not falling for the group think and someone putting a set of ideals onto me. Just always look at it for what it is. What would change if it was a female? What would change if it was an LGBT person? What would be the outcome? And if the behavior, if the treatment is different, I know it's wrong.
I think that's a great point. And when you're talking about groups, I mean, there's so many different directions to go with this discussion here, because a lot of times what I'm getting right now is I'm getting a lot of, and this is to be just all the way 100% honest, a lot of members of the media reaching out to me or sending me a clip of them saying something recently positive about you, or writing an article positive about you and what you're saying, and saying, yes, we agree with Kwame. We agree with what he's saying. What's been going on, in the media has been too long. They want to separate themselves from Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and those of his ilk. And they say, we're different. I hear that a lot. And my response is always kind of, it's always, first of all, hesitation, because, I don't have to be the liaison. They could reach out to you and say this. They don't have to reach out to me and say this. But also, I asked them, well, where were you 20 years ago? Where were you when Stephen A. Smith was doing all this? Every single time he talked about Kwame, why didn't you say anything then? And it's not as if there's a power dynamic that is there. So so if somebody would say, like we talked about last time, they asked, well, why didn't we say anything to MJ? Well, there's a power dynamic.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is a little bit.
You want to lose your job.
Right. Now, you with Stephen A. Smith, y'all are all peers. Y'all are all part of the media. So why didn't you say something about it then? And that's so it's, that's my response. How do you take that when you hear some of the media people who were there back then? Now, some of them are new, some of them are younger, but who were there back then. Do you ever question that? Like, why didn't you say anything about this before?
It's an easy answer. They're not telling the truth, because where are they now? There's current players right now that's being compared to boxes of cereal and things of that nature. Stephen A. is saying that you need to trade this guy need to retire. All the things that's being said, there's been an attack on Black males in the media. And no matter how great these men are, no matter what they overcome, no matter the struggles they don't tell that story. They'll go get a bad spot in his life and blow it up 10 times bigger. And I think it's all to reduce the contracts. And the reason why so many people are trying to separate from Stephen A. and all these people now is because anybody can see what they did to me, so they can get the one and done rule accomplished. Right. So this is not rocket science. So they got Boyce Watkins, they got Tommy Sotomayor, they got all these guys coming at one little old busty bus. If I'm a busty bus, just let me be. If you don't like the things I'm saying, just let me be. But there's been this whole go along, get along game this whole entire time, and they know it. They use Black people as little missiles and gatekeepers. Black people can say certain things to white people that white people can't say back to Black people. So both sides are using each other. White people are using money to go get these bourgeoisie educated people that Black people listen to. Usually they're of a lighter hue, because we seem to look up to light skin and educated for whatever reason. And they just are figureheads that do a bunch of talking and disruption. And they use them on each side. If you notice now, every movement that's positive, they either use the LGBT community. No, they're undefeated at taking down every movement. Or they use Black women. They're undefeated at taking down every movement. They've learned to weaponize groups. And if you say something, it's just an opinion. What happened to the definition of an opinion? If we're so educated, why are we going to get these big old degrees and we're becoming so sensitive? If Ben Shapiro walk on a campus for a debate with some people that claim to be smart, now they're supposed to be acting way different than people from the hood, but they'll start throwing bottles and books and everything at a man that's coming to talk. This is not a more smarter society. This is a more fragile, sensitive society that can't persevere through anything but talking and theories.
I think that's you made a lot of great points. I think that one of the things that I also question, and I make the correlation of with the media of being quiet and silent back then, and then now coming out and wanting to say something now or something like that, when it's, I don't know if it's a little safer. I don't know why. I don't know why it took you 20 years.
That's because MJ is retired. It's another player that has the power of MJ, and it's LeBron. You notice they won't say a bad article about LeBron. LeBron will get anyone fired. And this is no knock on the brother. That's just the way the NBA is. We've become a slogan society. The NBA is allowed to say NBA cares because they do photo ops and they only do that at that time. Well, the NBA is in every city around the world. Why isn't some of that money being donated for youth centers that teach coding? If you want to show us you care, you in every city taking money from these communities. And there's things that they can do really quick to not talk and make slogans, and they can fix society like that. So I think, it's just this go along, get along gang is to get paid off people's destruction and people's misery and miseducation.
And what bothers me with that is, I make the correlation between them and the police many times, where they just have this blue wall of silence. Like they're not going to speak about another colleague, or they're not going to say anything, but they want to differentiate themselves or distance themselves from the person. So they all want to say, that's the first thing they say when they reach out to me, I'm not like Stephen A. Smith. I'm like,
yeah, okay, right.
Well, show me because I could Google anything with now. You can look up old stuff. Show me where you said that they were wrong for doing this in the past. I can do that. I can show you old interviews that I did when where I said, well, this is not right, this is not true, everything like that for the past year. You show me something that you did back then, and I can't see anything. I can't find anything. So it kind of makes it a little bit different when you come out now. I'm like, yeah, but you, like you said, go along, get along for all this time, and then say, except now I did see one thing that was interesting. I saw there was something interesting. And I was going to ask you this too. So Stephen A. Smith, I was looking up different things because, like you said, you can look up and Google anything, any old, clips, any old anything, right? And I saw him looking into the camera on multiple occasions saying, I don't care what the black community thinks about me. And he was doing his neck like this. You know what I mean?
Acting like an auntie.
So one point he was making, I'll tell you exactly what happened. It was when, I can't think of my man's name right now, but he was in college. A fan said the N-word to him or something like that. He was about to go turn around and get mad at the fan. My man from Boston right now. Where's number 36?
Kyrie Irving.
No. From Boston. He's like the glue guy. Dang, why can't I think of his name right now?
Marcus Smart.
Okay, anyway, it was him, and he was like, Stephen A. Smith was just talking bad about him. I don't care what the black community says. I don't care what. So another time when after Trayvon Martin happened, then Stephen A. Smith took the side. Well, black kids have to be careful what they wear, and almost like he wasn't excusing the reaction, but he was saying he was making a very poorly articulated point. And then, but then
it's not poorly. He does it on purpose.
But then again, he said it again. I don't care what the black community thinks. Right? He said it again. Now, you remember when Ray Rice happened, right? And he was trying to say what I'm not even going to try to paraphrase what he was trying to say, but he used the word provoke. That's the word. He was like, you're trying to say, well, women should not provoke men. That's what he was saying, and they jumped on him. One lady from ESPN had this different tweets and everything. White women all over the country was upset. Then I saw a different Stephen A. Smith come on ESPN apologizing. And he was like, I'm sorry, I offended all of the women. I love my mama. I love my sisters. He said, I want to speak against all people who have done domestic violence, all on behalf of all men. He said, I apologize. I'm sorry, like 7 times, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, where was all that energy for Kwame Brown? Why couldn't he have just said, I apologize and I'm sorry for Kwame Brown? Like, I mean, because if you're wrong and true, he did this for 20 years. But I was so shocked to see him go on ESPN a few days ago, a week ago, however long it was, and go on this big rant, show this video clip, double down on everything. He wasn't that good. I was like, wait a minute, you're missing the whole entire point, Stephen A. Smith, or are you missing the point?
He's not missing the point. And this is why I know the journalists that say they're not like Stephen A., they could debunk anything he's saying, because they could have just wrote an article and said, Stephen A., that was lame. Anybody can get a bloopers clip of any player in the NBA. Then they could have wrote a story and did some journalism and really asked, Stephen A., where's your research from when you were going to colleges about this guy? Where's your research from when you were going to high schools about this guy? He's asked this one question over and over again. So these journalists that's calling you, why haven't they figured out yet why they sent an NBA analyst, so-called expert, that heard from a white man that I can't play basketball, catch, run, jump, or shoot? Why did they send this man to high schools to talk to little children about me?
Yep.
Why, if I'm so wrong and I'm so crazy, why, instead of telling me things like that, why can't you answer these questions? Because if I'm crazy, it should be easily to debunk a crazy person. You should be able to show what these kids gained out of you being there talking about how I can't catch a basketball to high school kids and saying I'm a failure at year 10 to college kids and having them laugh like you're a stand-up comedian.
Right.
And I would like to see if there ever been another bus, no offense to all the bus or people that's called that, has it ever been another bus that you went on a world tour about? And if so, can we compare notes of the data that you going around telling young kids this? What did it do for their minds? I just wanted to, so those journalists that's calling you, give them that response and let's see what they say.
I agree with you 100%. And, you know, in talking about with people like Stephen A. Smith and the way that journalism and, you know, media personalities and the way that that he particularly, and Skip Bayless is right with that. And they make it personal. And it's just amazing to me how many people are saying that's their job. I see those comments so many times.
They're right.
That's their job. No, they're not right.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you my perspective.
Okay.
They get paid to say things that white people can't say. So is it right? No, but technically that is their job. Stephen A. can say things about a black man that if a white man said it, we all would be triggered. We'd be alert to it. But because it's Stephen A., he's joining all these groups. You know, he's a Q-dog. He's honorary, but he looked like he's down with the bros. He helps certain people. That he put the gatekeepers, they give this guy access to their wealth, and he helps certain prominent people that may have fell from grace. So those people sit back and be quiet when they watch this man tear down every black male on television. We got Allen Iverson is not known for being one of the greatest little guys in the league. Their little kids walk up to Allen Iverson and say, we talking about practice. We talking about practice. And that is a false story.
It is.
We do that to all of these black players. Cam Newton should never have a teenage black boy walk up to him and talk to him like that. Never. When what it means for a black quarterback to even get a chance to play in this league, that NFL, how racist it was back in the day. And they're just starting to think black quarterbacks are not just athletes, that they're smart enough to run and throw. So that Cam Newton represents something. And so for the media to be able to disrespect Cam Newton the way that they do, it makes this teenage boy that hadn't proven a darn thing in life thinks that he can walk up to Cam Newton and one-up him by talking to him like that.
Right.
Now, when I grew up, that Cam Newton would have slapped me to the ground. You know why? Because my mama would have took me to that camp under the impression that I was going to learn from men. And had I disrespected a man like that, my mama gave men the authority to correct me. See, we got a disrespectful society, and it started when Stephen A. got that mic.
And he shows nothing but disrespect. And it just goes back to how, you know, you could be so you got to go back and look at the video when he is apologizing to white women. And he looks like a completely different person. He comes out, he looks humble. His whole body structure is like this.
Why would he have to respect a black man?
He's not doing all of that stuff that he do with us.
But that's our fault. Why would he have to respect a black male when all black males have sat back and been quiet, like I did too? But even now, the men that are retired, they're going back to try to get these analyst jobs. So what that does is that make them sign company policy. If we've all made money and we all made millions, why can't you start your own channel? And that way you can go back against the machine. And now you can say, hey, you're not going to talk about these brothers like that. They don't talk about these white athletes like that. They don't keep comparing Brett Favre to Tom Brady. They allow this white man's name to be great. Brett Favre's name stands alone. Tom Brady's name stands alone. Why every time we get a guy that even shoot one jump shot like Michael Jordan, it's comparisons their whole career. It can't never be a black guy that stands alone with no comparison, and he be the great Kevin Durant. Yeah. You got to compare him to somebody else because they want us to believe there's only one or two. You can always go back to that. White men got a bunch of great white men that they can go point at. Look at him, look at him, look at him. We keep talking about Michael Jordan. We keep talking about certain people. We got to move on from allowing people to trap our mind into thinking there's a lot of great black kids. Why are we not talking about the programs that Devin George has going on? This man wasn't an NBA superstar, but if the NBA cares, you don't think they know about what he's doing? They got a national stage that they can put Devin's thing across the billboard. If the NBA cares, why is that not up on the billboards instead of painting the floor with Black Lives Matter, which is a slogan, and people are stepping down now with monies and houses? Instead of sloganing me to death, show me you care. Why not put Devin George's platform up on that big screen at halftime and duplicate it all around the world if you care?
Well, I think that a lot with that though. I think with back up. Let me back up a little bit with Stephen A. Smith and making it, especially with black men. My issue with Stephen A. Smith, for a long time has how personal he makes it with black men. I remember here, being here with DC. I remember watching him with John Wall, and John Wall has gone through, terrible injuries. He's going through dealing with different things personally and everything like that. He's made his mistakes. He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. He's admitted that he's made mistakes. But watching Stephen A. Smith tear him down and relate something that has nothing to do with his performance on the court, and that I see him do that different times. Oh, he's always partying and always kicking it out in DC. I know because my sources tell me this. And so that's why he got hurt, and that's why he's not. I was like, wait a minute, why is one connected to the other? You don't say anything about. Remember before when LeBron every away city that he went to, he would throw a party there, but he was winning, so you didn't say nothing about it then. MJ kicking it all the time, he's winning. You don't say nothing about it at all then. But you're gonna take now the point when you know what I mean. John Wall is hurt, when he's injured, and now when he's struggling and everything like that, and take that moment to pounce on him. And it's that personal attacks that I'm like, when did the media become that? When did that happen? And he has a long list of people that he's done it. It's not just, you could go down the list with people that it's like a pattern. But nobody, like you said, nobody's ever spoken out about it the way that you called it to task. So now everybody's kind of paying attention a little bit more, like, wait a minute, he got a point about this media thing. And I like the fact that you're waking people up. I just have an issue with the media who were there before, their peers with Stephen A. Smith, and never said anything. That's my issue.
Well, they've put these effeminate beta males that don't know anything about masculinity, that didn't grow up around men, who I think Stephen A. is from a family of all women, and he, his own coach from college rejected him. Stephen A. is jealous of alpha strong men with their own mind. Stephen A. is a puppet. The moment he said his real thought, what happened? He got fired and he had to apologize. So, he's not, in my opinion, a real man. A real man can say what he wants. A real man has three trades. I grew up around men on a construction site, and those men found value in that. I can walk off this job and go get hired across the street. I know how to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm the best at it. What we've done is we've created a society of dudes that try to out-talk, lame bash, and stand on other men's shoulder and peacock. Men knew that that's not what you're supposed to do to another man, because you can lose your life like that. And as you can see, the crime rate from these little boys not learning what masculinity is, they're out here peacocking. So it's a lot more killing going on. So with Stephen A, he's just a jealous dude, man. He's not going to ever appreciate masculine men. We have to get back to masculinity. We have to get back to teaching these men skills so that company policy don't control them. Anybody who signed a job now, they signed up for a company policy that you don't have freedom of speech anymore. It should not be an asterisk beside, oh, you have freedom of speech, but that goes against that company's policy. Well, that company is operating in the United States of America. And the United States of America said your company policy can't trump our God-given freedoms. And we should have freedom of speech. You shouldn't destroy people's livelihood because they don't like something that you like, because they like a person that you like. And that's why we're creating a melting pot of hate. The people who are being quiet, like I was, they're going to come out with an explosion. And we got to stop choking off people's right to talk by firing them, by calling them racist. Those are just words. We got to grow up. These educated people, I challenge you guys to start having conversations. Start having debates where you're not talking over people. Start having debates where you don't start off putting a set of ideals on a person's tongue and say, is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? No, simply ask a question and allow a person to speak. The moment you get upset, the moment you get personal, you've lost that debate. Because I see a lot of, especially in the Black media, we don't look educated. We look emotional. We look like men that's trying to stand on top of other men's shoulders. That interview with King Randall and Roland Martin, that was embarrassing, in my opinion. That was an embarrassing set that an elder would talk to this young man like that, who's at least trying to open up a school. That is not your position to change up what he's doing and what he came there to talk about and start making it about political and trying to attach him to a group. He was trying to talk about masculinity and manhood and bringing schools back that we can teach our boys something that they can be proud of. We're letting the whole world talk about black girl magic, where there's a little boy sitting right across from that girl that nobody's talking about. And most of these little boys don't even have fathers, uncles, or anything that look like them.
And the thing that a lot of people like Stephen A. Smith don't understand is what he does to black athletes is done to black boys on the regular in schools. And you know, the way that teachers, white teachers and sometimes black teachers, speak about and to
these black
boys is the same way that Stephen A. Smith is speaking. And I don't know if he's seeing this connection of what he's doing. I don't know, but he's normalizing speaking to somebody like they're not human. It was interesting. I was on this one program. This was like a few years ago, and I was gonna start talking about where I say, okay, a lot of people don't know the stuff that was going on with Kwame all around, you know, with MJ and with Doug Collins and everything like that. But then I stopped. I was like, well, wait a minute. I shouldn't have to explain all of this for you to be able to treat him like a human being. None of this should even matter. I shouldn't tell you about how he grew up. I shouldn't tell you about it. None of that should matter.
We need a pass as a black man to get some respect. We need a humble story to get your respect.
I shouldn't have to tell you no sob story about everything and what happened. You should be able to respect him just because he is a man. And that's the problem with people like Stephen A. Smith that don't respect athletes as men. Because you can critique. When people say that, okay, it's his job to critique. Critique. Yes, critique is fair game. You had this amount of points. You're supposed to be averaging this. You know, we need you to do this to be at rebounds, block, all of that stuff. Those are critiques. But when you start talking about somebody personally and have a personal smear campaign, which is what he has with people.
It's a reason why they do that. When you start, perception is reality. That psycho Hitler used that tactic when he would talk over the loudspeaker. When they defame you like that, then people automatically in their mind was like, well, okay, whatever happened to him, you know, they said he was
justified.
They said he was that. Right. So that's why you can't allow anymore for them to talk about your black boys like that.
I agree.
He knows exactly what he's doing. This guy is the worst thing for sports. He is the worst thing for young black males because they sit around and they watch this guy do this and they know what the outcome is. They know the average white person don't. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this scenario. You answer this question.
Okay.
If people see a black male get kicked in the butt by another male. Just he walking by, you just kick him in the butt. Walking by doing nothing. And somebody see a nice little white poodle dog just walking, and a male just come and kick him in the butt. What do you think will get the biggest reaction?
Not even a question. Because you've criminalized. You know, Malcolm X talked about this a long time ago with the police and how they do and how the media works and justifies the criminalization of the entire Black community. So you speak about the Black community as being a criminal element, as being an element that needs to be subdued and controlled. So then when they see a police officer, when they see the image of a police officer beating a Black man on video mercilessly, or they shoot him, their first question is, what did the Black man do?
Yeah, but
not that you don't treat a human being like that.
Right.
What did he do to deserve this? To your point, if they see a dog being beaten, then they're outraged. They don't care what the dog did.
They'll cancel everybody.
Yes.
You will never have a job in America again if you kick that dog.
But that's the point that Stephen A. Smith needs to understand that he's contributing to when he talks about Black men. I saw him talk about Lamar Odom back in the day. And the Knicks, I guess, and I'm no Phil Jackson fan in his time with the Knicks. He plenty of criticism to be able to throw him towards Phil Jackson. But he was criticizing some hiring that he made that involved Lamar Odom. And he said on TV something about crack. I don't know if you could go to the tape.
Yeah, he did.
I was like, why would you say that? Like, why would you
know why he said it?
No, but it's so blatant. And and then I always go back to the tape about him, apologizing to the white women. And he was I'm so
he'll never apologize to a Black man. He don't have to.
But he could have easily, even with you, right? He could have said, I was hoping, this is what I was hoping, that he would say, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong. Like, listen, I
understand what you're saying, but here's where you got to see where we are wrong as males. Let's move past Stephen A. Because guess why? Everybody can kick our drawers and our behind. Every group attack Black males. You know why? Right. Because Black males attack each other as well. If you're married, nobody's going to respect your wife if you don't respect her. That's true. If they watch you treating her a certain way, then they're going to be like, why are you telling me I can't say you don't respect her? So we got to start understanding. We got to respect ourselves first. We shouldn't be asking, why is Stephen A. doing this, doing that? Us men got to stop infighting so much so we can say, hey, look, we demand you take him out of sports. We don't want him talking about none of our Black athletes anymore. And if we had our own money and we had our own jobs and not being controlled by company policy or a woman, because most of us Black males, if we're honest, we're controlled by our woman. And so we have to get back independent to where we can stand up as men again. And it's not toxic to disagree. We've been shouted out and shouted down so much that men are afraid to be men. It's not just about Stephen A. They've been shouting at us since school age. So now every time a woman talks to us, most men are taught to just whimper down. And it's like, no, if you're an adult and you think a woman is wrong, you don't have to be disrespectful to disagree. Most times when you just disagree with a woman, you'll see how disrespectful she will get.
That's true. And
we're creating a society that behavior in women now don't have to match behavior in men. Men have to go down here. And women get to be full body women and get you told. We got to correct that. Nobody should be told and anybody nothing. We should be communicating with respect and love with each other.
And I hear you there. I definitely agree. There's, and I don't want to bring up specific cases. I don't, but there are cases that apply to what you just said. Jamel Hill, I'll say. So Jamel Hill, I don't put her with Stephen A. Smith. I don't put her within that ilk. If she was with Stephen A. Smith, she would still be at ESPN.
I think she works.
I don't. I think that and we could talk about this for a moment here. I think, and this was my view of what happened there, and you could then tell me exactly what your view is. I thought that she made a very ill-timed joke, and this is why. I saw where the beginning things happened with you and Matt Barnes and Stephen Stack, and she chimed in with a joke I know the reference that she was making from the show because I have watched the show Game of Thrones and I saw all on social media that was making that reference. But I also saw at the same time where TMZ was saying Kwame Brown is violent and Kwame Brown is throwing threats and Kwame Brown is threatening. And they kept using those words. So for her to say that joke at that specific time, it was very ill-timed. I say 100%. But I don't think that she meant it with the same intent that TMZ meant it at. I just think she made an ill-timed joke. That was just my view of that situation. But you can tell me, exactly what happened and what parts that I missed. But I don't put her in that same link just because I've seen her go against the grain. ESPN wants you to be able to speak on this topic this way. There's a reason why Stephen A. Smith does that to black men, because ESPN allows them. ESPN didn't allow him to say that about white. When white women got offended, boom, he said, Smith, you got to correct this or you will no longer be at ESPN. That was their position. But black men, you can say things that are incorrect. Kevin Durant, remember when Stephen A. Smith was like, KD, he was saying KD's, from my sources, are going to go to either the Lakers or the Knicks or something like that. And KD said, that ain't true. I didn't say that. Nobody in my camp said that. You're lying and making things up.
Well, see, the reason why I say Jamel Hill is worse, because at least Kevin Durant can actually be a man and tell Stephen A, you're lying. But see, Jamel Hill is worse because they have weaponized black women like her. She went to Michigan or something like that, right? She hangs around all white people. So her ideology, in my opinion, is definitely from a white base. So to me, what it looks like is a hyper masculine woman who is envious of men, especially alpha males who's outspoken. And she knows that in society, it looks bad if I come back and say something to her in any way. That's why they were judging like, oh my goodness, he said she need to mind her business. Now, what would happen if we switched roles where a man was in a woman's business and talking about a woman? Now, mind you, they're always going to have plausible deniability. These people are educated people. They're always going to say it's just a joke, or it was just this, or we were talking about a game. Well, me and you ain't never joked before, man. Me and you are not friends. And so I'm supposed to believe that this is such a coincidence that some light-skinned guy, Becky with the good hair, invites me to his private part. That's the same day that Jamel Hill say I woke up with violence. TMZ say I'm violent and I'm sending out threats and I'm attacking people. Then go on the Breakfast Club. They talk about my father is a murderer, my brother's a murderer, my other brother got life. So all of these things happen in one day. And a woman who's never joked with me before, who was trying to get me to curse her out and be aggressive towards her like I was doing towards the men. Remember when I told you earlier, they send women to stop movements. They send the LGBT. If I would have cursed at her like I did those gentlemen, everybody tunes out because I'm talking to a woman. But here's where, when you change the role, the sex, the behavior is different. If a man gets in a woman's business, he's able to be called a B dude, a BA dude. They can tell him to suck something that's not even attached to him. He could be disrespected on all levels. But they keep telling men what they can and can't say and what they can and cannot do. Jamel Hill, I told her the right thing. I don't know you, ma'am. You need to mind your business. And so what I said and what I did was very strategic, because I knew the feminist women who hate men, they're going to look at that as the problem. And then they're going to right around, if it was a man doing the same thing to a woman, those will be the same women that's saying, well, you don't get in no woman's business. Are you the G word? Because there's a lot of that going on. If you get in a woman's business, they ask you, are you what?
I got you.
So we got to stop. I don't take my marching orders from women. I know that there's a sector of women out there that hate men, and they go out there to try to attack any man that looks strong, and they'll make it about something bigger than what it is. That's why I focus on behavior. When I was growing up, a woman did not walk into a room full of males and start inserting their opinion around men. The ladies would have stopped her before a man even popped her on a little booty. The ladies would have corrected her and said, ho, 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 there's nothing but men in there. Come on up out of here. And vice versa. When I walked in a room and it was nothing but females, I was told quickly to speak where the food was and where I need to go. And so now we have a society that we've allowed our upbringing to be pushed to the back burner. We don't have women that represent grandma them no more. A lot of them are not. A lot of them are talking very disrespectful to men, to where men are afraid to aggress them or talk back to them. Well, I'm not going to be aggressive to you. I'm just going to tell you like LeVar Ball did. You have a lane to stay in, and I do as well. And that's the way men and women don't conflict, because men and women shouldn't be in each other's business in that manner, especially not an aggressive manner. And no, I don't believe Jemele Hill meant that as a joke, because I don't play video games. I don't watch TV. I don't do none of that. And it's not a coincidence. She's a part of that same go along, get along game. And I don't see what she does that's positive other than go get a job somewhere. And then they use her as somebody who can attack certain people, because those certain people can't attack her back. If she says something to a white person, they can't attack her back in the same manner. So it's all a game.
Well, let me, I think we have different views on Jemele Hill, and that's cool. Has she ever apologized to you for inserting herself into that conversation?
No, she even said something else that was crazy, like, "Oh, don't talk about my mama." I wasn't talking about anyone's mama. I said my mama's cooking. So the things that she say, like, I see past the deniability that I know these so-called educated people are going to use. But the one thing that they don't understand is that their arrogance, their protection makes them sloppy. So the busty bus that's so sorry at basketball has now argued with two guys that I thought was a singular argument over a joke. Now look at how many people have mentioned my name, the little busty bus that was the #1 draft pick that nobody liked. Why are all these people start talking about me over an argument with two athletes that probably need to shut up and dribble, in their opinion?
Yeah, I hear you, but I just, I see a lot of the stuff that Jemele Hill does. I see her going against the grain so much. I mean, I don't, but I hear what you're saying.
No, you hear her talking. That's all you hear. You hear talking. You don't see any going against the grain, because you go on her Instagram. I love those black people that talk all that pro-black stuff, and then you look at their pictures and everybody around them white. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but the one thing I do know is there's a through line between all these people with their fists in the air. You look at where they live, you look at who they hang with, and it ain't you and me. I don't care about what somebody talk like. I don't care about a photo op or a group that they join. I told you I watch behavior, and I watch what she says. She says black men, or something like this, black men are the new white supremacists of the black community, or something like that. I might misquote her. I don't know it verbatim, but it was some type of an attack, like we are oppressing black women, which is so far from the truth, because most black men make $42,000 to $50,000 a year, and these black women are making six figures for desk jobs at the government. So there ain't no black woman that's making twice the amount of a man is being oppressed. And I don't care if they make less, they're not being oppressed. So Miss Hill is just there to distract and destroy families, in my humble opinion. I don't see anything that she does positive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I do see a different, side. I see of her, standing up for her, especially with the ESPN thing, and the way that they wanted her to go along and get along, and the way that they wanted her to follow a company, line as far as what her commentary is, what her commentary isn't. And then, allow other people to do Stephen A. Smith type things, because that's okay. I mean, there's a lot there, and I we can respectfully disagree on that. But I do want to ask you this: as far as going back to people who have, like MJ, the question that I get a lot of times on MJ is, people were so surprised to hear the way he treated you. They were shocked, because people have a certain image of MJ. And if there was social media back then, people would have a different view of a lot of different people who they put on a high pedestal, because they're human. With the way that MJ's surroundings kept him, it was like they could create an image of MJ that everybody could just see as almost the perfect person. Do you know what I mean? But then to see that MJ had different things that he did that wasn't necessarily that people would frown upon was shocking to people. So people kept asking. I had about 25 people after Jihadi and all us told the story about him kicking the ball in the stands and telling you to go fetch it. They were like, did he really do that? I was like, well, we all weren't making it up. We were all right there. You know what I mean? Or did he really do this? Did he really do that? And what is it about us putting human beings on pedestals to the point where we don't think that they could possibly do anything that we disagree with, or that we frown upon, in order to have a hero worship type of a thing? Do you know what I'm saying?
You can't blame the people. You got to blame the media. They create these heroes. Stars are not born. They are created. They don't allow you to hear stories like that about MJ. There's plenty more stories. MJ played basketball in the 80s. You don't think there's plenty more stories about this guy? Why would they want you not to think that there's anything that this human being, who's an imperfect human being,
right?
For people to even say that, you should see that they're brainwashed by the media. The media needs MJ to look perfect because he's the #1 shoe seller. This is about money. They don't give a shit about MJ. When he gets old and he gets later on, if his shoe decline or he try to go off on his own and don't let them get some money in his pocket, out of his pocket, they'll let out all kind of stories about MJ. This is all a game. So you can't blame the people. You got to blame, first of all, you got to blame them for idolizing celebrities a little bit and not listening to their families. See, that's why they don't promote families. When you don't have a family structure, you're not connected to nothing. So you worship Rihanna. It's people that will kill for Beyonce and they never met her. There's people that'll kill for LeBron. Now, no young boy would go kill for LeBron and people they idolize if they got their daddy and their mama and they going for walks in a park and they eating PB&J and they out there with their drone. They'll be connected to something.
Right.
But a little boy who's in the projects, who mama is gone because she has to work and daddy's in prison, he's sitting there watching his dreams and these images that they're putting out there for him. And this is all he got. Ain't no black boy magic. His sister get to put on rainbows and pigtails and wear a shirt that say girls rock. It ain't no shirt that say boys rock. A president that's in the office now say these boys are super predators. That's all black boys keep hearing, how bad and violent they are. Ain't no shirt that say black boys rock. And the mamas, see, this is why I know we tapped into these women's ego. They know they got 2 boys and 1 girl, but they'll put that girl on the pedestal every picture. And what are they doing for these 2 boys? We got to get over this ego and watch the behavior of these people. I don't want to hear how nice someone talks. I don't know why people don't understand about MJ and how the world is about money. I don't get it. It's very simple to see.
I mean, I think that, your point is far. I mean, you see my shirt, Great Black Father. I mean, I'm lifting up black men. I do a lot of programs with black men and fathers. I wrote my fatherhood book really to uplift, young black boys who are always told that they can't be successful if they come from a broken home.
What is that? How do you go about fixing that other than talk? Because my thing is,
you got to do programs and so this is.
I think trades fix it within 3 years.
You think who?
Trades. The reason why I'm telling you, you have to get around this company policy. I don't care how strong you tell a young black male to be. If he grow up in this society where the media has a machine pumping black women to where they can see that the numbers for young black males is that we're reading on a 4th grade reading level. If it was change the gender of those black bodies that's in the street, and God forbid, if it was black women, they would shut this world down. But because there's 2 or 3 black boys every night in certain cities, because it's happening every single night. If it was 2 or 3 white boys laying out in the city, I think they'll go get the black. There'll be a bigger reaction for black women than there'll even be for a white boy in today's society.
Well, this is how you change. First, you have to change the mentality. You have to
we gotta get these boys working. They have no skills.
I agree. I agree 100%. But before you can even get to that point, you have to change the mentality. Because you have people that are pouring into them and telling them that they are nothing unless they can be an athlete or a rapper. They're nothing, like nothing else. Like there's no other job in the world that you could possibly be at, because those are the only 2 things that you're talented in, and that your people are talented in, is athletics and music. That's what our kids are told. Then they're also told, because I was told this when I was young. My parents were divorced when I was young. You know what I mean? And I remember people coming to my school from middle school to high school telling me that if I grew up in a broken home, what they call a broken home, right? That I am more likely to do this. I'm probably going to join a gang. I'm probably going to, drop out of school. Give me all the percentages and all that stuff. And my thing was always, well, it don't have to be like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it don't have to be like that. So when you change the mentality of young boys to be able to like a force field around them. So when all that bull comes at them from the media or their teachers or whoever, it bounces off of them. Mm-hmm. And they know that that's not true, right? Mm-hmm. But when they accept that, and they're like, oh, well, I guess all I could do is just join a gang. All I could do is just do this, sell drugs, because that's what everybody's telling me. When they believe it, then it manifests into their lives. When they see it as a lie, then they reject it no matter how many times it's said to them. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. But the thing about it is, you can't change their mentality when the media is paying so much money for beef. When these companies are paying these young boys to rap and say some of the most outlandish things on camera and talk about death and murder and mayhem. And we allow that on our radio stations. We allow to talk about how we're going to have a Draco for a black man, and they don't use that word. We allow that. We like it. We listen to it in our cars, listening to it while we're running, about death and destruction and all kind of things. So you can't change it. You can't change the mentality if it's poison in their music, programming them the entire time.
But you tell them that it's poison. You tell them that what they're shown and everything that's being told to them is a lie.
But why are we allowing that on the radio?
Oh, I agree 100%. I am 100%. There are so many positive rappers that are out there, both male and female, that never get a chance to be on the radio ever.
Yeah,
ever.
Because they don't want nothing positive on the radio.
Listen, I got my daughters listening to Rhapsody. They love Lauryn Hill. They ask me, why don't I ever hear Rhapsody on the radio?
Because they don't want you to hear stuff.
Yeah. Right. And so that's what
they want them to hear that. They want them to hear that
other stuff. Right. So I already know. But that's the thing. You got to tell them their mentality. The reason why they want you to do this is because they want you to self-destruct. They've been doing that poison.
You can't make your family structure everybody else's. Now,
check this out. I agree. But
what if you wasn't there? What if you wasn't there? And your wife is working all the time because she got to take care of these kids. Yep. You're not going to be there to tell them.
I agree.
So that's why we're not promoting families. That's why men are toxic. He's trying to control you. Anything a man says, even if it's good logic, baby, don't go spend this money. What are you doing? Oh, you don't control me. Tell me what to do with my money. You go spend it, and then you need help with the bill after that a month later.
Listen, I'm not fighting that at all. You know what I mean? But the messages have to be consistently given to the young people that what they're being told from
they need to be given to the adults.
I agree. I 100% agree. But it's like dealing with where we should be and fighting that fight, and then dealing with where we're at. So we're not going to get. Let me finish this point. Where we're at right now is a young man right now. And I tell my AAU team this all the time. You have to understand all of the pitfalls that are being dug for you to fall into. And they're going to be from your teachers, from different people you come in contact with, both white and black. There's going to be people who are going to everywhere from the music, no question.
But that's my thing. Like, in order for us black people to succeed, we got to start having real conversations.
I agree.
I failed my children by not being married like you did. I'm not a woman. Most women are going to go, that's crazy. There's numbers that you can look up on we can't talk about what other people are failing our kids when we sign up. That's setting out what we're signing up these little boys and these little girls for. They're behind the 8 ball by our doing right away. Before we talk about white supremacy, before we talk about the school system, before we talk about anything, we're not going to fix anything until we address this out of wedlock birth.
I agree.
And it's not just all men. It's they're pumping too much financial gain in keeping black males fighting black females. Nobody's winning in these situations. The kids are growing up angry. They're growing up without love. And that's the whole point of mama's cooking. A woman's love to a child is one of the most important things that little child can get. He needs his father's logic and how to deal with situations. But that child, if that mama's at work being a doctor, she could be writing 10 books and she can come up with all these great things, but she's going to fail that child if she's not there to sprinkle that mama's cooking. But so it's not about education and it's not about race. It's about don't have a child until you're ready to. As for a man, I don't care if y'all don't stay together, but you got to not have that hatred towards that man to where your feelings is going to stand in front of you, allowing this man to come over every day. I don't care if he just at the driveway, allow him to pick that boy up and go throw that baseball. It don't got nothing to do with your feelings. It don't got nothing to do with how many girls he got, who she gonna have him around. That little boy or that little girl don't care nothing about that. We got to get these women to start understanding that once you have a child out of wedlock, you and that man set that child up for the word go. And I've done it. So I'm not speaking from a position above anyone. That's why I worry about my kids all the time. I try to talk to their mamas and look, stop all this fighting. But I understand the importance. We are raising a nation of bastardized kids, but then we want people to respect them when we don't even respect them. We can do all the talk in the world, but we got to build that foundation back strong. If the new thing is women don't want to be with men and be married, cool. But a father should be allowed to see his child every day if he so chooses.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree with you. And it's, you know, I'm going to use myself as an example. And you, so we were both raised by our mothers. Okay. My mama sprinkled some mama's cooking on me when I was young.
And look at your outcome.
But listen, she also prepared me and also had me know that, listen, you know what I mean? These are going to be some things that are going to be set up for you to fail. They're going. You know how many guys from my AAU team were Crips? Yeah. Neighborhood Crips, Main Street Crips, and they was better than me. They should be in the NBA before me. I have no problem saying that.
Mindset.
I played 11 years in the NBA, and I could easily name 20 guys from North Tulsa that was better than me and should have been in the NBA way before me. No problems in saying that, right? But my mother did tell me, okay, you got to look out for this. You got to look out for this. These are going to be pitfalls. You have to be able to do this.
Mama's cooking.
I had a relationship with my dad. My parents got divorced, but I saw my dad, you know, visitations, you know what I mean? And I would chill with him during the summer. So, you know, we had a relationship, but it's different than having your mother there, your dad there all the time, like what my son has with me.
Right.
So I come there every single day. Hey, what's going on with you? Sometimes I got to yoke him up when he think you know what I mean? A little bit too much. Sometimes I got to kick advice to him. So that every single day thing is different. It is different. Now, the main reason why I wrote the fatherhood book and started that whole fatherhood movement to inspire young people was because there's a lot of young people that was just like me growing up, where that didn't have their father in their home, and I saw them join gangs. I know why they joined. The gang becomes your family. Like OGs are like your father figures. I know why. I get it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't have to be that way. So I'll tell you this real quick story. This is when I was with the Hawks. I was at a panel discussion, right? And crazy. I was sitting right next to Stephen A. Smith, right? But it was Stephen A. Smith. It was
how could you do that?
I was right. Hey, Jason Whitlock was right down there. Spike Lee was the moderator. It was a crazy bit. And Jim Brown was there. So afterwards, after the panel, we go in the back and we're all talking about different things we're doing and stuff like that. And Jim Brown made this statement. And he said, you know, if you do not have a father in your life, you're going to end up in prison. Flat out like that while we was out there talking to all these black men at Morehouse, right? And I was like, well, it doesn't have to be like that. You know, you could make a difference. There's too many different people that made that decision, that conscious decision that I'm not going to go down that road. You know, but he was like, no, it's a foregone conclusion. So we got into a back and forth about that. And that's what kind of prompted me to write the fatherhood book, to encourage young people that you don't have to go down that road, right? But I have even used Kwame Brown as an example with my AAU, because now, you know, we OGs now. So now I'm like, you know, I tell like Heathcliff Huxtable stories. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, you know, everything is a story to get a point across with young people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, Kwame Brown was in the toughest situation that y'all could not even imagine being there with MJ. Y'all couldn't even, because you know, young kids, they're like, you know, my coach don't like me, I want to quit. I'm like, man, you ain't gonna quit just because your coach don't like you. Go prove him wrong, like Kwame Brown did. I use you as an example all the time. I'm like, look, I was like, Kwame Brown MJ was his teammate, right? And also owned the team, right? So after Kwame Brown left the Wizards, he came back and chose to go with the Charlotte Bobcats, which MJ was the owner there, and proved him wrong and showed MJ that he could play. And he was successful. He didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. And I'm using you as an example. And they're like, wow, yeah, I never knew that story. I never heard that story. I never heard Stephen A. Smith tell that story. I never heard anybody make that correlation that you did that. And I said, that's strength. That's courage to go back. And he could have gone to any other team. You was a free agent then, right? Make sure I'm telling the story right. And you went to Charlotte. And that was my issue. And so I'm telling them they have other people like us, right? We're not their parents, but we're mentors. And we can pour in positivity to them and prepare them and be like, hey, man, you can't just quit because the coach don't like you. Who cares if he don't like you? You can't go off on this teacher just because, you know what I mean, she don't like you or he don't like you or he don't think that you deserve to be in his class. That happened to me all my years. I always had teachers that didn't like me and didn't think I deserve. You beat them at their own game. And
but see, I can tell you had to have a male figure around you.
Oh, definitely. I had all kind of mentors. I had my pastor, who he was Reverend Potter on my AAU team. I had my grandfather, who was like my guy. I spent every summer with him in Harlem. I definitely mentors, black male mentors for young black men are crucial.
But I wouldn't say that. I would say their fathers are the main first option.
100%.
But if their fathers are not around, because what's happened is a lot of women have started making the excuse of, well, his father ain't this, his father ain't that. Well, you slept with him. So we have to get them to understand that little boy don't share the same emotional connection that you do with this man. So I can tell you've been around a man because of the way that you communicate in situations, especially situations of conflict. And what Jim Brown was trying to say, that there's data and there's numbers that show that kids that grow up with just their mother has a higher chance of somehow landing in someone's prison system.
And I get that. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, nobody's saying that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is this. And it doesn't have to be that way. And here's what numbers also prove. When there's a man there, that kid has a lot more logic. He has a lot more reasoning, and he usually has a more calmer demeanor. And it doesn't have to be his father. That's why mentors are important. But I don't like to say that, because what it does is it gives women excuses to say, we're going to get a mentor first. A lot of women are seeking out mentors because they don't like. Remember, we have the like and dislike world. Once a woman don't like a man no more, for whatever reason, I don't care if he cheated on you. I don't care if he did, that's what he did to you. He hasn't done anything to his son. I don't care if he missed the child support payment, whatever you want to say, the excuse not to let this man see his son, because some of you women can't afford to pay every month either for these children. So we have to stop that excuse. That little boy needs those life lessons from a male. And it seems like in our community, we want to circumvent his chromosomes, his natural father, his earthly father. We want to circumvent him and bring him around a stranger called a mentor, and then wonder why so many of these kids have been touched on. He don't have a connection to that baby.
Gotcha.
So we're at the mercy of if this is a good guy or not. And some of these women, they don't understand how to see these predator guys. So I've seen it to where I've been around basketball players to where some of these coaches, I'll be like, why are they going off for a walk? And
I agree.
In the afternoon at the AAU game, like, what's going on? And they usually get these kids from these very poor situations that ain't been around men. They give them a little bit of money and they think they got to take that money home to mama. And I saw a lot of destruction for kids that were trying to help mama. So I always preach that, and it's the truth. A male is a protector. There's no men walking in and out of your house, is it?
Right. Well, no.
Well, I've seen men walking in and out of some of my friends' house. What I'm saying is, you got to, a male's role is more than his paycheck. And we have to start connecting these boys back to their earthly father. It's a spiritual thing. It does not matter that you move on and go get another man. That little boy, no other man can come in and identify with your son and that bond that you have with your son if your wife leave you. Not no other man.
I agree.
So we have to stop. Take it. The adults need to get out of the way. If kids are the future, we got to start making decisions that benefit them and them only. They should be number one first. The decision that I'm going to make to move from Georgia to California, how is this going to affect my child and seeing his father?
Right.
I'm not going to say if he don't fly away to California and see this baby, he's a bad man. No, I'm not going to fly to California because that's going to take this kid away from his father. And a lot of women, not all, but some of them, they use these kids as bargaining chips. These are not love children. These are not mama's cooking children. Look at the way they can shoot somebody in the middle of the street, some of them. We have to correct that. No white man can fix that. No policy can fix that. No nothing can fix that, but fixing the family structure.
I agree.
I can tell by the way the background of your house look, how you speak. I know those kids are well-spoken. They're calm. They're clean. And there's certain things that your children are not going to do because they got to come and deal with you and your wife.
No, you're right.
You got to have that in every home.
You're right. I agree.
My son, I know where he at. If I call him right now, he'd be running down here. Yes, sir.
Right.
We got to have that in these homes. Some of these homes, there ain't a parent around to tell these kids nothing. They sitting back drinking 40s. We got all their homeboys over there. The daughters are opened up to all type of grown-ups. The kids are opened up to the streets. Why are these young boys able to join these gangs? My son can't go join no gang.
Right.
The gang gonna have to get me first.
Right. I agree.
That's my job. The gang gonna have to run over me first. Then they can have them after I'm gone. But that's our job.
See, and
if we don't get that back, it's over.
This is the jewels that I've now. It's interesting because we've had conversations at a young age. You was a young cat with the Wizards, but you were already very intelligent, and we've had conversations where there's a lot of things that you saw.
You was just a lot in the homeless shelter.
I feel you, and you were, and this is the part, and this is not just to gas you up, or anything like that. This is being honest. When I talk about the story has to be told correctly of what you was able to persevere through before you even got to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for what you persevered through before you even met MJ, then persevering through that time period of MJ was not even, you know what I'm saying? You done gone through all of this, right? And you persevered through all of this, but it would just bother me when people would speak as if they know you because of what they heard from the media. Because a lot of times people keep saying, well, why do you keep talking about the media so much? I was like, because the media have shaped a country's opinion about a man that they know nothing about.
Not just a man, they shape the country's opinion about everything.
They do, but on this in this particular topic, I'm talking about Kwame Brown. So the media has when I talk about those, and I had to go, and it's so funny when I tell you these different journalists, I ain't gonna call them out, but they didn't hit me.
You better not, because I'm gonna get them.
They've been like, we not like this, we did this, and we always, and I'm like, you ain't said nothing.
If one of them ever cross you, email me their name and I'll get them.
It's just so funny to me because they're like, Stephen A. Smith was no bigger than y'all. Y'all were all media people. Y'all all the same. Do you remember? They were so vicious, and then it just spread because when Stephen A. Smith did it, then it became common for all of them. I heard them in the break rooms. I heard them talking. So even if they didn't write something, I remember hearing them say the same things, spread different rumors, say that Kwame Brown didn't know how to order food, or Kwame Brown didn't know how to wear shoes, or Kwame Brown didn't know how to go to a dry cleaners. All of those lies, I hear you spreading the rumors. So don't tell me that you were not part of it. You were part of it. He was 18 at the time, 17, 18 years old, and already had more intelligence than most of them because we had conversations. Yeah. And people would be like, well, why do you always, you always jump to his defense? And I'm like, because I know him in a way that y'all don't know him. I actually talked to him. Mm-hmm. Media people didn't talk to you and ask you. They just assumed. They just went with what they heard. I was like, just ask him. Just ask him a question on that. Don't just write things. There was this guy named Tom Knott. Him I can name. Do you remember Tom Knott from the Washington Times?
Mm-mm.
Okay, look him up. This dude, old decrepit white dude, he would just sit up there and talk bad about the Wizards from way back to Chris Webber. He dogged Chris Webber. He dogged me. He dogged you. He dogged Brendan. He would call Brendan Brenda all the time. You know what I mean? He would call me the poet, like trying to mock me. I was like, well, poetry's not something that I'm ashamed of, but he would use it in a mocking way. He would talk about you. And he would just pile on all of this stuff. And one time I wrote him back. I started writing open letters, right? So I wrote an open letter. I'm a writer. So that's what, I write for, I tell you how I'm back in the plane just writing stuff. So you got a big dog, huh? So I'm writing to him, and media people do not like when you correct them or criticize them. He got so offended that I criticized him. You know what I mean? Or like critiqued him or something like that. But he shaped people's opinions of players, especially in DC, you know what I mean, for the Wizards, by his writings. Like, I saw it happen. People thought about Gilbert one way. People thought about Chris Webber one way. People thought about Kwame Brown, all because of how he wrote. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, wow. So, yeah, the media is used for evil so much right now. Yeah. I can't help but trying to, you know what I mean, call them out and say, no, it's wrong for this person and this person and this person. You know what I mean? Because they have so much power. So even, and I know we're trying to move away from Stephen A. Smith, but his name keep coming up. When he is on air all the time doing this over and over about not just Kwame Brown, because now we're making it bigger than Kwame Brown, about player after player after player after player, usually black male after black male after black male after black male. It's part of a whole system that is demonizing and ridiculing and making caricatures of black males, to where, like you said earlier, a young boy who paid money to go to Cam Newton's camp feels comfortable and actually, you know what I mean, throwing insults at Cam Newton. He's a child.
Because they would have turned the cameras off where I'm from.
But he's watched people like Stephen A. Smith do that every single day on TV.
Well, Stephen A. Smith, man, like I said, listen, even the way they set it up, Stephen A. Smith, he's a paid pundit. This is what they do. They take a black guy and let him say they cross him up between a white guy. You know how they set them across from each other. Right. They have Stephen A. and a white guy. Right. They know that the white guy can't say what Stephen A. gonna say. So they'll have the white guy just ask some questions, and he'll come in and he'll be soft. He'll bring up the topic. He'll seem to be the innocent person, like he's just being fair. Yeah. And then Stephen A. comes in because he's the personality and he's just doing his job. And then Stephen A. goes in on all the black players. Right. All of them.
Well, he does.
The white players, benefit of the doubt every time. He's never, even the dude that allegedly was on that H, he said, well, you know, he's a good player and we know what happened. When it was Lamar Odom, he went at him with venom. When it was Zach Randolph, he went at him with venom. And it's just like when it's the boy, the football player, Gordon, what's his name for the Browns?
I remember him.
He was a wide receiver. He kept getting caught, Josh Gordon or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about.
He kept getting caught with that.
Yeah.
He wanted him out of the league.
Yeah.
What happened to compassion that he's addicted to something?
Right.
What happened to the football league should care about these players and give them treatment? What happened to asking, why are you smoking marijuana? Is it that you're injured a lot and you're trying to mask the pain without taking all these prescription drugs that has side effects?
Right.
Like, can he try CBD? Like, are you working with these players to see what works for them, or are you trying to tell them what to do?
Well, he's trying to ridicule them, and he did that with Stephon Marbury. That's why Stephon Marbury called him out.
Oh, he killed Stephon.
Yeah, but he was like, you don't know anything about me, but he's making it personal. You remember Kyrie? So Kyrie, and this is the interesting part. Before the bubble, Kyrie made the statement that maybe there's more stuff going on right now. Basketball isn't the biggest thing. We need to think about how we can affect the world. The things that were going on in the world, in the country, was bothering Kyrie. So he said, basketball may not be the number one priority.
And he's been enemy number one ever since.
Oh my God, Steve! But it wasn't just Stephen A. Smith. It was Stephen A. Smith. It was Barkley. It was all of them cats that was like. But they used words like idiot, and foolish and stupid and everything like that, talking about
because you should know better, boy.
I was
and
like,
they don't listen.
wow.
They just bring out. Listen, this is what they do. They bring out everybody. They group up on them. If they have everybody that people like saying the exact same thing on every station, the people that like Charles Barkley, the people who think he's funny, the people that like Shaq, the people that like these people automatically say in their self-conscious mind, well, dang, if he's saying that about him, then that got to be true. I don't like Kyrie no more.
Yeah, just like that. Just like that.
That's what happens.
And I mean, when Kyrie said he had to take a minute, you know what I mean? Because he needed to separate for a second, take a minute, take a personal day. And
they weren't talking about mental health then.
They was right. They was like, oh, how could Kyrie do something like that? How he's so terrible. And here goes Stephen A. Smith.
He got all this money.
Yeah, right. All this money to do. I'm like, dog. So then when they kind of play like, oh, well, we're not saying anything about him personally. I'm like,
they always do that.
Making it personal. The way that you are talking about these athletes is
you can play the two clips of how they talk about them, and then when the players say something about them, and how they act like they're so dignified.
Right.
Whatever do you mean?
What do you mean?
We were just talking about basketball. I mean,
like, come on, man.
You're being aggressive. You woke up with violence. You're toxic.
You're toxic. Well, let me ask you this though, because a lot of people do want to know this question as far as what has your communication been with MJ? So, as far as now, we know what the situation was with the Wizards. Now, 20 years later, or even when you was in Charlotte, what was did he ever have a discussion with you, address everything, how you was treated? What was the communication like?
None. I mean, MJ don't talk. Like MJ is just he's a hooper. When you're that good, you have to be selfish. I couldn't imagine being his son. Like, no knock to him. You're gonna get gifts and you're gonna get all that. But for his time, for his having your father, too many people loved and admired this man for him to be able to give as much to his kids. So, I don't understand why people think he would be talking to me. He don't have time to talk to me.
Yeah, no, but my question was more like if y'all, because like when you went back to Charlotte, what were y'all conversations with, like with him, and and the conversations with MJ and addressing
all the time. He just comes out there and joke. He don't have no conversation with you. He just be joking. A nigga, I can hit a shot half court. What you want to do?
Not that though. I mean specifically about how you were treated in DC. Like, has he ever? He never brought it up. Never said anything. Never.
That's the only conversation we would have on joke time.
He would just joke. So when you went back to Charlotte and you were playing well, right? You were playing well. You was double. You was killing, right? To be honest with you. And so he didn't come back and say anything to you during that time period.
No, they brought another guy in and started cutting my minutes. They started playing me just the first quarter and the third quarter, and I would sit the whole second and fourth.
See, I was honest. Okay, this is what I was hoping. I was hoping that you were going to say, well, yeah, we sat down, we had a conversation, and we talked about, what happened in DC, and he said maybe I could have handled this situation a little bit better with you, but I was trying to do that. None of that happened with MJ ever up until this point.
No, he had me talk to his crony, Rod Higgins, and I can't stand that joker there, because when the situation, to me, he's the epitome of a coward. And they put people like me in situations where you really can't check a person. I'm on a 1-year deal. I know that if I react the way that I'm supposed to react, I'm not going to just kiss the NBA goodbye. If I'm ready to make that decision, I've always been a thinker. You could do this or you could do that. The outcome of this is going to be this.
Right.
Or you could stay quiet and say nothing and move on. But I remember when Oak was upset. He always upset. So he acted as if he was ready to fight. And of course, I just stood there. And, he's talking and yelling and whatever else. And instead of Rod Higgins saying, you know what, Oak, you need to chill. You're a coach. He was on the sidelines laughing. And I'm just thinking in my head, this is a black male who is the general manager, who had me as a teenager one time. Now you got me as an adult. You watching a man act as if he's going to throw a ball at me and act as if he want to fight me, knowing that if this guy is an employee of your organization, Imagine how dumb this guy is. That if Charles Oakley would have hit me, it happened in the Charlotte. It would have happened in the Charlotte Bobcats facility. I wouldn't even fought back. I would have hoped he broke my neck.
This was at practice, or this was in the locker room?
This was in an open practice. That's why I say the things that I say, I don't be lying about. But after he finished ranting and raving, I sat him down and we went on the sideline and talked. But I always
you and Oakley talked.
Yeah, I always remember Rod Higgins laughing like that, and I just remember I'm like, that is the epitome of a coward. Because as an elder, you're supposed to step in and say, no, first of all, this is legally, you can't do this, for number one. Number two, don't talk to this man like that. This is not what this organization represents. You're not going to threaten to hit players. And so it was no class in that. There was no respect. And this is a black man. So that's why when I hear people talking about, oh, we just need black this, we need black that. No, we need counseling. Because there's some black males that the only way they feel good is standing on another black male's shoulders. And I've never been like that. There's room and space for all of us. And the males that act like Rod Higgins, I can't stand those types. Oakley, I understand Oakley. That's his whole thing. He's tough. He's going to challenge people. Alpha. But I'm alpha as well. So I know not to overreact. He didn't touch me. He was just talking. And so it is what it is. And that's the way Oak communicates. When he's trying to get you to do certain drills and stuff, he's fiery. Right. I've seen guys get cut because they overreact to what a coach is saying to them. Right. They cry. They be just like you said. They be very good players, and there's a through line to that. Some of these guys that only have mama patting them on the back, saying how great they are, and never been around a man that say, "Hey, boy, you BSing. You ain't doing a good job," and they can't take that without crying. Right. Those are the kids that can't handle life, because life gonna throw you. People are going to disagree with you. Right. People are going to say some things to you. No parent in the world can't save reality from happening to you. Reality is some part of life at some point is going to suck. And you're going to, based on the things that your parents and people around you instilled in you, you're going to be able to deal with that adversity in that situation. What we have now is over-pampered kids that just been talking a lot. They're book smart, but they have no experience about what real life is. You could take an educated woman, an educated male, and put him around a street cat, and they'll have everything that educated person have, and have their wallet, they have their credit cards, account. They'll be making them educated people do everything this kid say he do with no education.
Right. That's you know. I mean, and this is the thing that I always get people to realize is that you had this wisdom at 18, 17 years old, because it's the exact opposite of the narrative that they were all pushing, that high school players are not able mentally and emotionally to be able to handle the NBA. I'm like, no, I saw Kwame Brown mentally and emotionally handle a situation with MJ and Doug Collins that most veterans would not have been able to handle.
That's why you won't see no live interviews of me. #1 draft pick. You won't see the only live interviews I was offered was to talk about my family being in prison, was to talk about how my father wasn't there, how my mother was so great as a mother. And I said, wait a minute now. My mama never told me to talk like that. My mama always said she did the best she could. My mama didn't have that ego of some of these women now. Because my mama understood at 14, I was handing her money and I bought my own pair of shoes to play. So when I told my mom, who was asking me to go say that, she told me no. And then I was told, you don't tell this type of person no. So I've been knowing it was a go along, get along gang. I stayed quiet. And the person that I'm talking about is a very powerful black woman. And you would think this woman would understand the struggle. But no, there's a lot of gatekeepers that if you don't do what they ask and do what they say, then everything about you will somehow be spun in a different direction.
You know, it's, going with where we were at DC and we were at the Wizards. I remember, you tell me if you remember this. We're in Doug Collins' office. You know how I feel about Doug Collins. I had to woosah so many times, so I know what I mean. I don't knock his block off. It was tough. The struggle was real with Doug Collins. But but when we had a conversation before, and this was after the NBA Buzz interview, where I was saying, well, it was Doug Collins that was doing everything. He was like, yeah, but who you think gave Doug Collins the order? And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right, Kwame. I was like, it's not like Doug Collins was doing it on his own. He was, you just didn't see, MJ doing it. You saw it happening through Doug Collins. And, I remember one time in the office, we was in Doug Collins' office. Tell me if you remember this. It was just me and you. I don't remember nobody else being there. BJ might have been somewhere in the corner somewhere.
He always there.
You remember BJ? Yeah, he was somewhere there. But Doug Collins, he said to me that he didn't think that I would be in the league beyond my rookie contract.
I remember that.
And then he said to you, and he said, and you will be the worst number one pick that was ever picked. He said that to both of us. And I looked at you and my fist balled up like this. I was about to knock him.
No, that's why I'm looking at you like, no.
I was like, and so we looked at each other, and I'm like in disbelief, like, did he just say this to us? I'm looking, and you kind of looked at me like, calm down. You know what I mean? Calm down. You didn't even respond to what he said, right? But you looked at me like, calm down, man. I was like, I'm sitting here, and we just both turned around and left. And I was like, can you believe this dude? You know what I'm saying? But I tell that story a lot of times because I tell it when I'm talking to young men, and I do the correlation that you're going to have people who, if you react to them, like say I would have reacted to him, and if I would have hit him, he would have been in a coma somewhere. You know what I'm saying? The old decrepit dude. And I would have never played a basketball again.
Right. He ain't that important. I would have dove over your ass. Excuse me, I'd be like, no.
But that's amazing. But it's amazing that you had that level of maturity at 18 to understand that I don't have to worry about what this dude is saying right now. Yeah. And I would always be amazed at your level of poise to where all those situations where Doug Collins was doing things like that, where MJ's doing different things. Then when Oakland came the next year, we're doing different, you know what I mean? Trying all the different stuff, disrespectful stuff that, kicking the ball in the stands, there's a whole lot more stories that we could tell too, that MJ doing disrespectful things to you and specifically to demean you. And me seeing Doug Collins giggling, like when you talk about the giggling, I would see Doug Collins giggling about it and BJ giggling about it and different people giggle, like when you talk about, Brennan giggling and stuff like that, people giggling about it while it was happening, but you having the maturity to say you was like on a different level. And I'm looking at you, because I'm still looking at you to see how you're going to react. And you have this poise about you where you didn't let it affect you. And I was always wanting to ask you, we've had these conversations, but I want you to explain to people how you were able to have that amount of poise at that young age. Do you know what I mean?
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, my brothers I got drafted to the NBA. My brothers went to prison as teenagers. So I'm looking at it like this. It ain't about me. I came through a homeless shelter. I've been through so many worse things. And if the worst thing it is some guys who's trying, I knew what they were trying to do. So you're trying to get a young kid, you're trying to prove to the world that this young kid can't handle pressure. So you're creating situations for me to overreact to. So you can say, see, look, I told you, see, look. So the whole time I seen them doing things that by me not overreacting, it was pissing them off. So I used to just go back and laugh like, that I never let them see me sweat. So I'm giggling. I'm a big goofy dude by nature. So I'm back giggling like, they think I'm gonna get mad that they kick balls in the stands and they gotta pay me on the 15th for my mama to stay on that golf course. I don't care what they do because I know what they're trying to get this one and done rule accomplished. Right. And I knew that I can't beat this machine. Right. The only thing that I'm in control of is how I react to it. Was it easy? Most times, but was it hard? Some of the stuff they would say, yeah. I'm sure. But I'm connected to something. Like I said, when you come from what I come from, you understand why they're upset. They're upset about money. A bunch of rich people didn't get their way. A bunch of rich people didn't get me in Florida, and a bunch of these black boys were coming to make all this money. I stayed in the league 12 years, and I could have stayed a little bit longer. But LeBron has been in for how long? If these high school players are coming out making money for over 2 decades, these kids come out at 18, they'll be able to play up until late 30s, almost 40.
Right.
So this is about money. What happened to me was about money. And it's interesting now that 20 years later it come twofold that I'm exposing that, and it's the truth. And they know it's true. That's why they won't answer the question of why were you sending Stephen A to high schools and colleges? You wanted to disrupt these little kids' mind to say, well, we can't be good enough to be the pick. Look at this guy that Michael Jordan drafted, and he was wrong about him. So you little kids are not good enough. Look at the way this kid is playing. He can't even catch. They didn't say one good thing about me in 20 years.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So you think I'm going to overreact when I'm fighting a machine?
Right.
No. I just used to fly my mama up. She would give me some of that mama's cooking. When I would getting ready to overreact, I'm tired of this. And she'd be like, my mama give it to me raw. What you talking about? Where your brother at, boy? Your brother got this and this and that. Do you know what's going on out here? Do you know who you helping? This is bigger than you. Stop worrying about you. Stop complaining. And I say, you know what? Dang, I do got a Mercedes outside.
Right.
You know, they yelling at me for 2-3 hours. They working me out 5 hours before the game and then putting me in exhausted. But they telling the people I can't play. But every time I get a chance to play where I'm not exhausted and I get 30 minutes a game, that's why I keep saying, look at the analytics. If you look up the Charlotte data and how much media coverage I got for those games, it was non-existent. It was like I wasn't even in the league. And I'm getting a double-double, and by the first quarter and the third quarter, I got a double-double. There was zero media coverage. Then the reason why I know that what Stephen A does affect these guys' bottom line and their money, because my agent at the time is Mark Barstein. I got the numbers that are exactly the same as DeAndre Jordan. And you saw what DeAndre Jordan got. So I'm like, okay, it's on. They tell me, he said, Kwame, I wish you could be a fly on the wall in these meetings when I talk analytics. They keep talking about how Stephen A saying you a bust.
Yep. I mean, I interviewed the former GM Babcock, and you heard right out of his mouth. He said, no, there was all these rumors floating around about Kwame, and he said that he wished he didn't pay attention to them. And he also talked about other people who there were rumors about floating around. He mentioned Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and Craig Hodges the same exact way. Did the same interview, and he said, yeah. And I was like, but why do y'all listen to rumors? Why do y'all did y'all ask anybody who were there?
Nobody walks up to someone with a handshake, hey, how you doing, and get to know you no more. We call people, hey, do you know such and such? How is he to you? Oh, you had a bad interaction with him? Oh, well, I hate him. People told me that about Rasheed Wallace. Oh, Rasheed Wallace crazy. Oh,
right. The worst nicest guy on earth.
Yeah, when I met Rasheed Wallace, I said, hey, brother, I get that dude is the nicest. Yes, I'm talking about to play basketball with Rasheed is so easy. Over here, go there. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest teammates. He's going to keep you laughing. Yeah, he's gonna go off on the referees now. You can't calm him down on that aspect.
Right.
He's not perfect. But at the end of the day, as far as a genuine guy, I can see why a lot of people who would be fake and who wouldn't be real and direct wouldn't like him, because he'll call you out. If you phony, he'll call you out right there on the spot like a man's supposed to. Right. But they're gonna call that toxic. They want to do away with men like that.
Yeah, but with you, it was just the narrative. Like for me, literally talking to you and being on your teammate for 2 years and then seeing how the media wrote about you, that was when I started really having a negative feeling towards the media. Was with you when I saw how and it wasn't just Stephen A. Smith. We mentioned him a lot, but it wasn't just him.
Mike Wilbon, it was all of them.
Yeah, I mean, and I like Mike Wilbon, but I remember different things that he said. I remember different things that other people for the Post wrote, for the Washington Times wrote. You know what I mean? I remember it, and it's like, the media is so powerful, but that's why I like the way that you're calling the media out.
Yeah,
because what I hope happens from this is that going forward, people, will continue calling the media out. And more athletes will continue calling the media out. I mean, even what we just saw with, and I have nothing against, Jay Williams, but if Kevin Durant said, no, I didn't say that. You're not going to try to pit me and Giannis against each other. Like don't do that. I'm not doing it. That's not what I did. And he killed it right there. If he didn't do that, there would have been a big story about Giannis and KD for the rest of the series.
Right.
And then they would have started bad blood.
Well, guess what? Now the big story is, Kevin Durant attacked Jason Williams. How did he attack people saying you wrong? Like a man that even talk like that, I don't even want to be around you, because you're not attacking me. If I say Atan said this and you correct me and say, Kwame, I didn't say that, and my response is, Atan, don't attack me.
Right.
Really?
That's not what it is. That's not what it is. And I hope that more athletes continue calling the media out. My thing was I would start writing an open letter. You know what I mean? So I wrote an open letter to Tom Knott, wrote an open letter to Ivan Carter from the Washington Post when he misreported about my heart surgery. Wrote an open letter to Jason Whitlock when I disagreed. So I'm open letters. But now with social media,
you can talk right directly to them.
Right to them. You don't need to do all that.
You be quiet. You be quiet.
And that's the beauty of social media, man. Yeah. Like it's just, and athletes have all this power now. So what you're doing now is empowering athletes to show they ain't got to take this from the media no more. Right. They ain't got to allow the media to shape false narratives of them without saying anything. Now they can correct them. No, what they just said is a lie. And I'm gonna show you the receipts of how it's a lie.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's why people have to understand everything that you're doing is starting an entire new movement. And it's starting a whole new wave of athletes. Now, you had some athletes that would speak up after a while and get frustrated. Like we mentioned, Stephon Marbury talked about, different people. John Wall had the little spats with Stephen A. Smith and everything like that. But a lot of athletes are going to start doing this a lot more. Yeah. Because we've just allowed the media to lie on us and to shape a narrative about us for their benefit.
Right. But the thing about it is, I don't know who taught us to be so quiet. You don't have to do it in the style that I'm doing it in, but these athletes got 2, 3, 5, 10 million followers.
Yeah.
When they write a story about you, go on your Instagram and say, hey, look, what this man said was absolutely wrong. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but they're just doing that for clickbait. I'm going to connect with my fans, and the fans already like these guys. Right. They need to start interacting with their own fans more. Do that live and talk about current events. Don't be afraid.
I agree. I agree. So what's next for Kwame Brown? What's next for what do you have next on the horizon?
Well, everything is happening at one time. I'm doing a book. I'm doing my book.
Good.
I'm setting up these programming. I'm trying to keep myself protected because got a lot of people doing that, so slowing down a little bit.
I got you.
Every time you're working, you got to look out the window.
You silly.
So that's why I'm like, man, these activists, they're not under so much pressure. It seems like the activists get plane rides and I get threats. I don't get it. What am I doing? Are they really activists if I'm getting the threats for just talking on the mic? At one time, it was an iPhone 8 from my truck. If I'm getting threats for something that I'm doing, what are these activists doing? Why are they not getting threats? Why not people trying to come at them in their whole personal life like they're doing me?
Yeah. You touching on a lot of. Yeah, I don't know. What else you got going on? What else you got going on though? Tell us. I want to know all of it. Tell us everything you got.
Some of the stuff I can't say because I haven't signed the contract yet. Okay. But get me in a week, and then I'll be able to divulge everything that I'm doing. I'll lay it out there, and they won't be able to stop it because the contracts are already inked. So
that's good. Tell me about the clothing line. Tell everybody about the clothing line.
Well, we are the clothing. I'm working with this company that's about to try to make the merch a little more exciting. And we were just doing that on Teesprings, but now we're going to get some graphic designs on it and things of that nature. Okay. But what I'm more excited about is the programming that we have for these young boys. I'm working with the Real Foundation, and it's no money for me involved. It's their thing, but I believe in their programming and things like that. And she's going to help me do it as well. But the team that she has, they build tiny homes, and what they do is they use troubled youth to come in and build the homes, at-risk youth. Young men that before they go astray, because they're about prevention as well. Come in here, get some money in your pocket, let's build these tiny homes. And what that do is gives them skills. But what it also does on the back end is it gives a woman that has a convicted felon record, it gives her an opportunity to have her own home. So they're doing a rent to own program with these 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom tiny houses that they're going to build it out to however these women want it. And once they complete the program, they can stay there, or they can take their tiny home and move it and have some sense of freedom, because they can never pay their debt back to society if company policy and this felony that they got to check that box, it continues to haunt them. So it makes them repeat offend, because you're going to put them in the same environment, having to depend on people from the same area, so they can't never break the cycle. So that's why I think this program is very important. And it takes us people. That's why I kept saying, Dr. Boyce called me a populist and all these dumb terms. It's like, oh, he's about the people. It's like, yeah, I've had brothers come home from prison and they really want to change their life, but because of some mistake they made as a teenager, they now can't just move on. You keep doxing this person for a mistake that they did as a teenager, but now they're an adult man. So it's important to get these people some independence. So that's what we're going to start with. So
that's fantastic, man. Programs like that, those are the ones that, like you said, with NBA Cares, that the NBA Cares needs to attach to and give and help and promote and give funding to and everything like that.
I reached out to them, by the way.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's a little tough with
a little red tape.
No, it's a little tough, but I think that there's so much that athletes are able to do. And sometimes when you're doing it, that's when they'll come back on the back and then attach themselves and promote it and help you then.
And
but
that's
they
okay.
won't, but they won't. Yeah, like I said, that's okay. For the longest, and I've been someone who's been speaking on different things, and the NBA didn't want to touch me for the longest. But then activism, I guess, became a little popular. And then it's okay. And then I'm okay. And then they'll say,
about it. The media found out what you were doing at the time. We love you.
They weren't touching me with a 10-foot pole for a while, for a long time. But it's all good. You know what I mean? It's all good. Whenever you're on board, because you understand the amount of power that the NBA has behind them when they support something. And that's why I want the NBA to be able to support these family members, the family members of the victims of police brutality. You have, Emerald Garner, who's Eric Garner's daughter, doing so much stuff, and Flannery Steele's mother, doing stuff for her pouch and everything like that. And she's all Tiffany Crutcher. They have a whole band of women who have been, the family members of victims of police brutality, sisters of the movement, and all the things that they're doing to try to change laws and get things done. Support them. You know what I mean? Like those are those people who are specifically affected, and there's so much that you can do. NBA, we're talking to NBA right now, to help them along and to use your power. There's so much more than
Well, they think they're doing something because they support the group that say they're supporting the family.
Yeah, and that's not it. And that's not
money laundering, in my opinion, because you can go now direct to the people and help them.
You don't need the group. You don't need that other group. You don't need whatever. You go and help directly the people. The group, you know what I'm saying?
But they think we can't see, but we can see. Why do you have to go to this company, that company, when the person directly can set up a GoFundMe, or you can send them attorneys or whatever they need?
I agree 100%.
So I think it's all a farce.
I agree 100%. I agree, but they need more people calling it out and pushing and being able to do. That's why it's great what you're doing. And also, let me just say one thing, and not like you already know this because we already had discussion about this. But be careful about people. Like we talked about the NBA now coming and attaching and helping, and that's good. But be careful about other people wanting to attach themselves to you now and like trying to use you to support them and put and elevate what they're trying to do. Like some people, they'll see one little element that you like. It is so interesting. And I'm gonna be honest, 100% honest with you. I don't want to say names and things like that, but there are people who literally have historically discredited, demeaned any athlete that spoke about anything outside the box of athletics, right? But then when they see an athlete who says something, no matter what that something is, that they agree with, Then they want to attach to that athlete and say, oh, look how wonderful this athlete is. But I was like, but wait, just because he's saying something that you agree with, what about the other athlete who says something that you disagree with? He needs to shut up and dribble. But this athlete who says something that you agree with, now he's wonderful. Be careful with them people. You know what I mean? Because that happens on the left and the right. That happens from both sides. You know what I mean? If they agree with you, oh, it's look at this athlete saying this wonderful stuff that it, you know, let me bring you on my program. Let me help you do this. But if he disagrees with you, that athlete has no business saying anything outside of that. And I hate that. And this is both sides that do that. And they do it very consistently.
That's why I respect Kyrie Irving so much, because they only want athletes who are woke. They allow you to say whatever you want to say if it fits a narrative. But if you're an athlete like Kyrie and you're more conscious, you're not supposed to say stuff like that while you're getting a paycheck from them. The reason why I can say everything I'm saying and stand on truth, because nobody's paying me. And so the reason why most athletes sound like most people don't want to hear what they're saying is because most of the stuff they're saying, they're being told to say because they're getting paid. No athlete is going to be objective about some of these situations that's going on in the streets. They're going to all say that, it was just the cop was bad. And my nephew, being a cop now, he almost got killed because he's a black man. When he jumped out the car, the first thing a black man said is, you just like them R word, C words, and you worse. And so they demonize cops to where now it doesn't even matter if it's a black man getting out the car. So that's when I realized the danger of what we're actually doing. If you're saying that you want black police officers to police your neighborhoods, my nephew's a black cop. He's a nice guy, but you can't treat him like he's something bad because he's a cop and try to take his life. And that's not right. We got to calm people down about color, because it's not about color. Everything that happens is about money. And trust me.
But the thing about it is, though, that we also have to, at the same time, be able to hold people accountable so that you don't have this situation. So when people are looking at different situations happen day in and day out, case after case after case, and none of these police officers are being held accountable, what type of system can you have of accountability and trust if you're not so we both have kids. If I told my kids, you know what, you can do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, and ain't gonna be no punishment. You're going to have complete immunity over anything you do. And in fact, if you do something wrong, you can come and investigate yourself and then tell me if you did something wrong or not. And you come back and you tell me, you know what, Daddy? We talked about it with each other. We investigated ourselves, and we came to the conclusion that we did nothing wrong. And then that's it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You got to have an outside independent.
Completely.
Yeah, you got to have. I'm not for abolishing the police officers because I know what would happen to the black community.
Well, it's not abolishing, but they need to revamp. They need a whole police officer accountable. Whatever word they want to use, hold them accountable. If you do something wrong, you get punished.
Absolutely. But like I said, with the situation with my nephew, we got to hold both parties accountable.
Okay.
We can't have disrespectful people just coming out verbally assaulting cops. And we got to have cops who are respecting citizens and not standing on their shoulders and thinking they're above them.
Respect always goes both ways.
They got to go both ways.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that 100%. But one side has power and another side has no power. So there is a different element. So even when you're talking about
other side, I disagree. The other side have power even in their death. The people who are going out and being disrespectful, they're shaking up the whole world in their death.
No, I agree.
You can't say they don't have power.
Well, in the short term. So when I talk about as far as power in the situation, like authority, like one person that has all the guns, has all the authority, can arrest you, can imprison you.
Are they being treated like they do, though? That's what I'm saying. Are they being treated like they have the power? Because pulling out your phone and saying you B-word, you this, you that, talking to my nephew the way that they did, it didn't seem like he had no power. Because on the streets, if somebody got a gun on me and I see they got a gun, there's a certain way I'm not going to talk to that guy because he has power. He has a gun. What we've done is we've demonized cops, and we know that this cop can't do anything if I pull out my phone. So we disrespectful right off the drip. So we can't do that. We have to, there are situations where there are some cops who are wrong. But what we have to do as citizens, we don't need to antagonize cops, especially not the black ones.
Well, right the problem with the black ones is sometimes they act like the white ones. Sometimes,
but what?
Right, and I said I'm never going to say. I'm never going to say.
Wait. That got to be on an individual case.
That's right. I agree. I said I'm not going to blame
that on airways, though.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But
if we don't start changing the way we talk about cops as a whole, because if we start talking about women, we make sure we stop and say, "Oh, not all." I want to see that same aggression when it comes to cops.
But I will say this. I think that all cops need to be held accountable.
I understand that, but all parents need to be held accountable.
100%, and I agree.
But hold on, let me finish my point. Us and the black community got to calm down the sensitivity. We know what's really going on. We need to stop not being accountable for the way that we're behaving. Some of these children are not behaving in the way that anybody would be respected. Your kids are not behaving the way some of these kids are behaving. So if we're gonna, hold on. If we're going to tell, and we got so many people stirring the pot, only saying police, I will be right there with you saying some police need to be accountable. But I'm also going to be just as loud about some of you parents need to be accountable because your kids are acting horribly. I'm about behavior. And you can't not say that you don't see some of the behaviors of these people and say that it's not wrong. Now, the cops' reaction can be wrong as well. Okay. But we have to stop having behaviors that's getting in these situations. If we want to change something, why aren't none of these black leaders stop saying cops this, cops that? Why are they not giving these kids a way in order to go through these police encounters and live? I told my son, when he starts driving, you're not going to talk to a police officer. License, registration, everything clipped to the door, window rolled down, hands on the steering wheel. You don't have anything else to say. Okay. You don't answer any questions. Nobody's teaching these kids how to get past a police encounter. They're making it so hypersensitive. I seen a woman come out there with a 21-year-old son, and a woman is out there yelling, acting like this cop is going to kill this guy when all he was asking for the boy's license and registration. The mother revealed the ugly truth. She said he's 21 years old. He does not know how to deal with a police encounter. Well, you're failing that child, because before I let my son go out in his roadways, he's going to know you don't have to talk to no cop. You don't have to answer any questions. You can say, give me my ticket and let me go on my way. And I do not answer questions. Here's everything that you need. Nobody's talking about how to prevent what's happening. They keep trying to spin this narrative that makes people angry. Let's keep these kids from dying by giving them messages of life. Not with my nephew, that's a black man that get out of the car. I hear black people talking to him worse than any white man has ever talked to him in life, period. Now, that's not right just because he has a job. Now, how can black cops come into the black community and help the black community if they're not going to be respected by the people in the same community? Okay, we have to stop blaming cops for every single thing. Change the behavior, and then the cops will force them to change their behavior, because we can say, look, we got good neighborhoods. We don't have hoods no more. We got good neighborhoods. We pay taxes. We don't even want y'all to come around here no more. But when you're coming around with the Draco, some of us, not all, when you're putting camera, when the white folks are paying these young brothers to sit there and hold clips or magazines that's way longer than the gun, that's going to throw off the shot of this gun anyway. It's really not that smart to do. And then we're wondering why little children are getting hit in households now, when we don't want to talk about that, little 7-year-olds dying in households. When we won't mention that, and we'll talk about a cop before we talk about a baby getting killed as a result of our culture. That leads me to believe that we have culture vultures in our own culture. The number one thing we're supposed to protect is the babies. Where are the men? Where are the men in uproar in these neighborhoods when a baby get killed?
Let me say, I think we talk about both, and I hear your point.
When a baby died, we talk about one thing: baby.
But let me.
When a baby died, we as men, We failed as men. There's a reason why they look at us. Hold on. Let me say this one part and I'll stop.
Okay.
There's a reason why the world look at us black men the way they look at us. We take out marching orders from women. And the Italians will never have you shooting in their neighborhoods. Those men will go do a life sentence to get the people who shoot up anybody's neighborhood. You hit a white little or Italian little girl in a neighborhood, those men stand together. They don't ask for no cop help. Those men protect their neighborhoods, so they get respect from their women. We cry and talk and get on phones and ask women to stand in front while we're crying in the background. If there's no police, nothing, when you're killing kids in your neighborhoods, you got to stop that as men. There ain't nobody shooting out in this neighborhood, because if they start doing that, either I'm moving or I'm attacking the people who's shooting, because you can't have neighborhoods when you got people shooting outside where kids got to play. And we got to change that and stop crying and lying to ourselves. It is not safe in our own neighborhoods. Why is it that they can regentrify a neighborhood and bring white people there and get police presence there, and now Brooklyn look like you can walk dogs and have parks there in Harlem and Brooklyn? We have to fix us and stop whining. I'm not going to be a part of whine group. If you show a good product, you make them respect that product after you show it. That's what we got to do.
So, and I agree with a lot of elements that you said. I say that you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think we all have to have that conversation in every black home with our children. But you got to take the first step first. Let me finish though. We have to prepare our children for, yes, when you encounter police, this is what you do and this is what you don't do. That's that if that talk is not had by every black parent with their children, yes, I agree, you're failing.
She admitted on camera she didn't do it.
And I agree. I agree with you on that one. At the same time, we also have to be able to push for laws to be able to be passed to hold police officers accountable, because it's a system. It's not a bad cop thing, like one cop here, one cop there. If the police officers know that they can do this and not get in trouble, not have anything happen to them, just like the analogy that I said about if I told my kids they can do anything and they're not worried about it. So whether there's a phone, whether there's anything, no matter what it is, they're going to come there and say, look, I was in fear for my life. That's it. And then sit back and not say anything. Just like Betty Shelby did in Tulsa, Oklahoma with when she killed Terrence Crutcher. She didn't even have to say nothing else. I was in fear for my life, and then sat back. Because they know the system and the laws will protect them. So while we're also fighting on this side for the laws to be able to treat everybody the same. If you're a police officer and you break the law, you get punished. If you're a citizen and you break the law, you get punished. It has to go both ways. But now we're dealing with them on this side. Now we come over here, we talk to our young people. We have to say, well, there's a way that you have to be able to present yourself. There's a way that you have to conduct yourself with pride. There's a way that you have to be smart. You have to know your rights. When stopped by a police, you do this, you don't do this. Those are the conversations we have with them.
I'm agreeing with you 100%.
I know, we're saying the same thing.
The only thing I'm disagreeing with is what you do first. You can't get the cops to be ready to go in these neighborhoods when you haven't fixed these neighborhoods yet. Because like I said, my nephew was a fresh new cop. He was just finished off the basketball court. He went to go become a cop. He was excited about changing it from the inside. These were the things that he was saying. I'm not going to let somebody disrespect somebody black. Remember, we always talk about, why ain't the black cops that's around that'll talk to the white cops and make sure they don't do nothing? He was one of those guys. And as soon as he come out the car, he almost died. So you can't have these cops going into a neighborhood when the neighborhood is not right. You have to fix the neighborhoods first and stop calling them hoods and make them neighborhoods. So therefore, when the cop come in, he's not looked at a certain way. And I agree. Let's start bringing black cops in, because my nephew is one of those good black cops that where he's going to give you, if you want to curse, if you want to shout at him, he's showing me video. Woman won't even let him talk. Well, okay, man. Well, let me get to the bottom of what's going on. I don't care what you're trying to get to the bottom of.
But here's the
all
thing,
me out here though.
But here's the thing: there's good cops that are both black and white, and there's bad cops that are both black and white.
But there's bad people that are both black and white.
And there's bad people, no question.
Have to change the behavior of people as well. We can't.
But we also on the cops. But I think that both need to change. Like
I'm saying that too, but I think.
But you said one before the other,
right? See, the reason why I'm saying that, because my nephew, there's a lot of black cops like this. There's a lot of black cops that are fresh young men that's being told, go be a cop so you can change this.
I agree.
There's boys that are tired of seeing young black boys get shot. They're going to get a badge to help. In our sick culture, some of them, we have to address the way we speak to adult black cops.
And vice versa. And vice versa too, though.
I understand the vice versa part, but let this stand on his head first.
Okay.
We have to address the way some of these young black males are speaking, especially to black cops.
And I agree.
So that way, when we get to a point to where we get what we want, if we want black cops to only deal with black neighborhoods, you have to be able to respect them. Therefore, they're going to respect you. You can't go on these rants and having cops like my nephew. I'll show you these videos personally where he's polite as I don't know what. And he's being yelled at and berated and all these things. A cop should not have to stand there and listen to that on his job.
But at the same time,
there could be another call that's more important. So we have to get the relationship. The media needs to stay out of, don't highlight all these stories the way that they're doing. If you're going to highlight when a black person get killed, highlight. Why are we not talking about when whites and Asians and everybody get killed? It's making a melting pot that's going to work in reverse.
So let me ask you this. Do you remember when Carmelo Anthony, and this is the power of athletics, and this is just welcome me on this one. Carmelo Anthony was before they was going to go to the Olympics, and he did this thing in LA, and he brought the cops there, and he brought the people from the community there. Mm-hmm. And he got the people from the community to hear the cops and the cops to hear the community. Mm-hmm. And they came from that, and the feedback from that was so positive that they got a chance to listen to each other. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessarily a one before the other, but for both at the same time to listen. So the same situation where they had policemen listen to people from the community say, listen, you know, we're doing this, and the policeman comes immediately and is like, no, like this, like them, right? And then the same policeman, like who's in a situation like your nephew, came and said, well, I'm sitting here doing my job, and then the person comes and like that and creates a situation. But both are happening simultaneously. So then they get each other to view each other as humans. Yeah, the humanity. So I think more of that should happen, where both sides are being shown the humanity. The only difference is this: the only caveat.
They need to do that once a month.
No, I completely agree, and I've been a part of some programs like that. We've done that at different places, and they've worked great. I've worked with different policemen in doing that. You know what I mean? I would love to work with your nephew in doing that, because I that's what I do. You know, we need
to do that in every city, because you know why? All it is that the cops are afraid of the citizens, and the citizens now are afraid of the cops.
It's both ways. I agree.
Because the media is creating that narrative. My nephew now, because he almost got killed, he's not coming up to situations like, hey, what up, brother, no more. He coming up like,
right. But in contrast, you have a community that has that other cop that comes to them, that throws them up, and then so they're coming to the cop like the same way. Right.
That kneel on them. They coming like, okay, you ain't finna kill me today. So they're coming aggressive at the cop. So it's both. This is
both, completely both. And so this is what so you have people in the community looking at the cops, thinking and saying that, okay, I know that you can do anything to me right now and get away with it. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be held accountable.
But you know what I mean? From do that though.
No. It's not to say that every cop wants to. It's just that you could, right? So if you know, so that's why when you first attack it from that way, to say, okay, we're going to have some checks and balances. So now the law is set. Going back to my kids' analogy, the law is set that if you do something wrong, right, you're not going to be the ones that are going to investigate yourselves. We're going to have an outside entity, which is mommy or daddy, and then you're going to have a punishment. Yeah. So if you have that, where there's no immunity across the board for police officers to do whatever that they want to, and you have actual punishments that say it shouldn't have to take everything that George Floyd, with the video out, it shouldn't take all that for him to get guilty. It should have taken all of that, right? But so if you have a system in place where you're going to hold them accountable, I guarantee you things will start changing. Because then their whole interaction is going to be different. They know you can't get it, but it has to start somewhere. But so we're saying the same thing. We're just saying differently as far as the starting point. But the point is, though, I think that has to be something that is fully addressed in many different ways. So while we're addressing it,
you're gonna have to change the family structure first.
I think there's many things. I think there's many on all parts. I think you need to change this.
But what I'm saying is
this.
The number one part that if we want to talk about change, you're gonna have to die on the hill that when you build a home, it starts with foundation. You can go through all the plans, but if your foundation is not sturdy, you'll see it when they become an adult. These kids that come up and they might have mommy and daddy, but they didn't. Mommy and daddy only instilled in them how to make money. So that worked for a while, but then when you took their money away from them, then they wanted to do something to themselves. They're horrible to people. It's about your foundation. I know that's a sensitive topic. I know that sounds like you're blaming someone, but I'm just basing it off numbers. Numbers say that when you have a Michelle and a Barack Obama together, that the outcomes for those two little girls are going to far exceed the outcome when you don't have it. So if that offends anyone, be mad at the numbers. Don't be mad at me. I'm saying that if we're not going to attack and change the way that we look at our culture, change the way we look at men, and men need to stop being so afraid to say everything. We can control our neighborhoods. Why do we have to call the cops so much? When I was a kid, my uncle and all my uncles in the neighborhood, we had neighborhoods. It was certain things. People knew better. People knew better to do certain things.
Community police. We policed ourselves. Right. I got you.
We're sitting here complaining about. We're saying how strong we are, but why does some white guy got to keep coming into our neighborhoods? Why do we have to have so much help with our neighborhoods? Because our foundation is not there.
And I'm good with that. I mean, the foundation. I definitely agree with you with that. No, the foundation has to be key. And when you are instilling for young black males, the importance of family, the importance of family structure, the importance of finding, I am 100% agree with you. And I also want us to be able to also uplift the young black males that don't have that situation.
And they won't be so angry because boy, look at you.
Oh, no question. I worked in my whole time with DC. I worked with this program in DC correctional facilities with young black males. They were under 18. So before they go to big prison, they go to correctional facility here in DC. There's a group called Free Minds, fantastic group. And I'm working with them, and they're writing about their frustrations, or writing about their angers, because writing is my thing. So I'm telling them how I'm doing the poetry and spoken word. They're doing, writing different stuff, because poetry is just lyrics, it's rap. If you know what I mean? So you get your frustration out. And the stuff that they put on paper of where a lot of the frustration and anger originated from was a lot of times back from their father not being there for them. A lot of times, if you trace it all the way back, you know what I mean? It goes back. So I'm 100% with you.
So then, why is there a system to keep fathers out of these kids?
Because they're the system as far as the privatized prisons and the way that they want us to, the same system that wants to put certain music on the airways to guide us towards prison. It is all interconnected. You know what I mean? Everything.
So let me ask you this. So if you went to a prison or a teenage jail before they go to big jail, and these boys are expressing that they're yearning for their fathers. Now, if their fathers are on the streets, and if you interview a lot of these men, here's what the sector that we always want to blame these men. Some of these ladies,
yes, no question,
are playing keep away with these children.
No question.
Why isn't the system, if these little boys, if they're reading these letters of these little boys, why can't we make a system to where, despite, if that's what's getting these little boys incarcerated, that they feel they don't get the love of their male father, if they have a male father that's on the streets, why are we not forcing them to be there an hour or 2 hours a day?
So
if that's going to keep a little kid out of jail. Because I know a lot of men. I can call 20 guys right now, and they'll tell you, I can't even get my baby mama on the phone. That's
no question.
What tell you.
So check this out. There's this group I'm part called Black Fathers. Shout out to Black Fathers. It's on Facebook. It started off a couple hundred, it's in the hundreds, thousands. right? And black men there sharing about each other, sharing with each other. Matt Pressberry is who started it. Fantastic group. And you're seeing men dealing with different things as far as the courts all the time. They're getting advice from other men. I'm in this state. You know, what are the rules for this? Because I can't, my baby mama won't let me see the child. All these different things happen. You have other men that are bragging on their children, showing pictures. This is me and my daughter. Daughter done graduated. It's a fantastic group. Black men need support systems in order to be able to through the court systems.
Why not just try to change the law?
No, and change the law.
We need to be working on that law to be changed.
But this is the thing. It's like police departments. Each department is completely different in each city. So each one is different. It's not like universal. It's you know, this the Child Protective Services and the laws that are in Tulsa are different than the ones in Georgia.
Asians that just got a bill passed.
Oh, I agree.
Over an incident that was horrible.
I agree 100%.
What I'm witnessing in America is that young black boys are the dead last at everything. We don't have any finances. A lot of us are illiterate by the numbers. Don't get mad at me. The numbers show that we are at the bottom of all males. And these young boys are basically pouring their heart out because this ain't new. Tupac said why he joined the gang, because he never found love. Hold on. I understand what you're gonna say, but understand this. They should be working on changing this law. If you hearing these kids crying out the way they're crying out, it's not about the adults. These men want to be in these children's lives, but they make it about money. They make it about what he can pay to a child. That little kid don't give a god doggone about how much money his daddy got. Because most of these mamas don't have money either.
I agree.
So you got to stop this biased opinion on what a man brings to the table. There's women out there on government assistance in the projects talking about I'm raising my kid on my own. We have to stop this lie. Let these men, whether they're broke or not, help these young boys feel a sense of who they are. That's what a father is for, not about how much money he has.
I agree.
We've let women put in programming that make them look so great. Not all women, because my mother was one of those women that understood. We have women now, some that do not like men. And at every turn of the corner, every problem that they have, they will blame it on a man. Let's listen to these children. The children just told you what was wrong with them, right? Now, everybody want to speak for other people. Why are we not listening to the children? They want their daddy.
So this goes back to your point as far as the family structure and the importance of family structure and emphasizing the importance of family structure and teaching. But listen, I'm gonna go full circle because there's a lot of it in with it. So when you talked about the importance of family structure and having both parents there, and as far as instilling in young people the importance of having both parents there, meaning that you're careful with your relationships. Do you know what I mean? You're not just
we're not careful. We're saying
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
But Etan, you saying a bunch of words that don't reflect our culture. We just had a rapper go on TV and say, the first date to date me, you got to give me $50,000. You got to take me out to the store. And these little girls are hearing that. So that's not those words that you're saying. I understand them and they sound good. That's not reflective of our culture.
I agree. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that remember when I talked about the mentality before? You change the mentality that's opposite of the culture. That you don't go with the culture. You don't go with what
these kids are listening to their celebrities.
And they're listening to the wrong people. I agree with you.
How are you going to get them not to do that?
When you instill in them that they don't have to look and listen to the wrong people in order to.
Who's home to instill that to them?
Listen, the same people that instilled that into you and instilled that into me.
My mom hurt her back, so she was disabled, so she had to be home. So I got that mama's cooking all day.
So mama's cooking can instill that in them that no, you don't follow these people who are telling you the wrong path. But listen, this is what I'm saying. It's the opposite of what they're always told. I'm agreeing with you. So yes, they're told that on the airwaves. They're told that every turn they have, they turn on the TV. They're told that this is what you should aspire to.
And that's what's winning.
And that's what's winning. I'm 100% agreeing with you. The whole reason why, like I told you, the whole reason why I did the fatherhood book was to tell people, no, you don't have to go that way.
The only way
it's a foregone conclusion. But wait. Let me finish this one thing though. working with these young people there, right? I've been able to, and it's group after group after group, because there's always new groups coming in every single year. You know, and when they turn to 18, they would go out into, some would come out, some would have to go, you know what I mean, to the big population, the older prison. Once you get to, and the letters that I get from people telling me that, listen, nobody has ever told me what you told me. That's the power of when we talk about mentors, we talk about people, and that's not to discount the power of fathers. I'm all supporting power of fathers, right? But you have young people that have never had anyone tell them that there's anything that's an other possibility, as from what the rappers that you was talking about that's telling them, that the people in school, that the teachers who are discrediting them and discouraging them are telling them, that the people on the media and Stephen A. Smith are telling them, that you have people who have never been told that they could be anything other than that.
And that's a shame on the parents, because my mama told me I was great.
No question. But aside from that, if you have somebody who's never you have a kid who's told that they can never do anything else,
and they never heard it from their parent, then how can you blame anybody else but the parent?
I'm not blaming them. I'm saying that now you have that situation, right? Mm-hmm. I'm saying now that you have that, you can have a Kwame Brown telling them, listen, everything that you're being told is a lie, and you can do whatever you want to do. Just look at me. Do you understand? You can say, listen, I using yourself as an example, okay? I was able to overcome all of this adversity. Like, you ain't even having to deal with all of this stuff that I had to deal with. But listen, let me finish. All of this adversity, you utilized everything that you went through, homeless, everything, before you got to the league. Then you put it in basketball terms, because sports is a thing that young people can connect to immediately. I'm telling you this because I use you as an example, and the young people I'm working with AAU get it. I've had different parents come to me and say to me, listen, I appreciate you telling my son this and getting it through, because I couldn't get through to him. It wasn't clicking, right? So that's where it's like, you know that they shouldn't be looking at us as role models. They should be listening to their parents. But the reality is, sometimes young people, they look at athletes and entertainers and stuff like that as role models. The wrong people to look at, but it's the reality. So even in knowing that, you can have an impact on their entire life because of the things that you say, because you are an athlete. So what you're doing now, right now, you don't even understand how much you're impacting a whole generation. The reason why I kept saying, okay, we got to be able to do this. We got to do this interview, because you don't, there's no way you can see it right now, but you're going to see even 10 years from now, you're going to see, and I mark when it happens, remember I told you that it happened. All right. You're going to have some people come to you and say, listen, what you did changed my life. What Kwame Brown said to me, what I heard you talking about here, this program you was doing here, whatever it is, changed my entire life.
They're saying that now.
And they're saying that right now, but you're going to hear that even more. So you hearing that tells you the impact that you personally can make. But then people seeing the impact that you make, Kwame Brown has an effect on the next athlete coming up after us, seeing the way Kwame Brown used his platform to be able to help all these people and impact all these people. And what does he do? He starts impacting people too. Mm-hmm. So that is the way it becomes a ripple effect. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you're talking about the whole grand scheme, we can't even worry about what this president and everything like that. We can't control that. What you can control right now is how you can make a personal impact, and you're doing it. So yes, there's frustration that we have because we see other people that could be having an impact. The reason why I keep bringing up Stephen A. Smith, because he could be having an impact. Rappers that are giving poison.
No, he can't. He's taking money.
Right, but
he'll get fired.
I feel you, but you see my point. They could be having this impact. They could be doing all of this stuff. Kwame Brown right now is doing it. He is impacting people, and you're going to keep impacting people. You know what I mean? And yeah, okay, say if we have differences of where it starts over here, that's fine. We're at least on the same point that we got to start doing something. Right. And that's the part that we focus on. And I'm good with that.
That's the level of maturity that we got to get our elders to get to.
I hear you. And I agree.
Watch some of the elders disagree on one line.
It's terrible. Right. And I agree. But I don't want to miss the point of the impact that you can have. Now, listen, when it happens, and it's going to happen a lot, you are affecting an entire group, a generation of people. Now, the people who are following you now, yeah, you have some people that like drama, but then some people are listening to the nuggets because I hear them. Oh, wow, you heard Kwame just said? Oh, that's a good point that he just made here. Oh, wow, why don't we do this? And you're making them think. That affects people. So sometimes don't discount the power of words. So they might just be words, but all you have to do is just implant a seed. And once you implant a seed, then you can change everything. So these young cats that I'm working with Free Minds in the DC prisons, some of them have came back. They didn't contribute. They didn't get caught up in recidivism. They didn't come back and do, even though everything was, we come back and tell them, look, it's going to be impossible. They're impossible for you to get a job when you come back. They're going to say this, and this. But you know what you can do? You could go reach out. You could go this. You can stay positive, stay on the right path. You can start your own path. You can go this. You can do. We give them options. So it's not like when they come against the forces that are trying to
learn a trade, and then you don't need a job.
No, and I want to make sure you talk about that because you do a lot with trades. But these are giving them tools that for when the things that we know they're going to come up against, they'll be prepared for it. So just like we talk to the young people, when you come up for the police, you say, look, don't say nothing. Just put the thing on here. You're preparing them for the forces that can come against them, no matter what they are, right? And so the same thing that you're doing, that's the power of and having the athlete platform. Yeah, that's the power of it.
Because I didn't want to get into arguing. I don't want to, like with my son, he used to do that too. Well, why can't I say this? Why can't I say this? A white boy can say this and I can't say that. I said, son, it's different. I told him just like this, son, I don't want to hear that. I want you to come home and I want you to do this. Close your mouth the same way I want you to close your mouth with that cop. Put this on your wheel and you ain't got to worry about none of that.
And you
all I'm is an outcome guy. I'm an outcome guy. And I told him, I said, son, you may not understand that now, but what I don't want to have happen is you go out of this door and you might take what I'm saying the wrong way. And then you go and don't know when to say, okay, because he's seen me do it. He's seen me get disrespected by a cop. And I'm a big guy already. If I lose control and do all this, I know I'm going to get popped.
No question.
Look at man. Go get me a car that, I told him just like this, go get me a car that's big enough. Take me to jail. I'm tired of talking to you. I'm going to be out in a couple of minutes. Why am I going to risk my life and risk my freedom or whatever else because some cop want to prove something to me? So take me to jail. I spent 3-4 hours in there. I held down the water, wouldn't let nobody drink out the faucet. I'm just playing. But,
you're stupid.
But I'm in the holding cell cold. Everybody got stuff over their head, and it was a bad experience for a couple of hours. But I got through it. And that's what we got to tell these young men. I told my son, listen, boy, stop. You're starting to reflect the chaos of the outside world. I said, in here, you don't bring that in here. And here, we're going to use this. What's the best way for you to come home? Yeah, but what if he say that? I said, what can you do? I'm trying to show you how to be in control of your destiny and your life at all times. And here's what you can do. Here's what you have rights that's outside of this cop. And if he break those rights, you tell him he broke your rights. You get it on camera. And then at some point, if he's going to continue breaking your rights, you get it documented on camera and you tell him to take you to jail. And then daddy coming.
And that's
daddy get his own.
And that's the thing. And it's so dope, Kwame, because it's like, when I talk about, I use, so you remember the story that I said before about us being in front of Doug Collins and him saying that. So after that, I wrote a poem called Haters, right? And after I got my next contract, I sent it to Doug Collins, right? And I put that, I put that in my first book. So all over DC, I tell that story, right? I tell how Kwame, looked at me like, hey man, don't go out. I tell what I could have done, which was knocked him into a coma. You know what I mean? I told him.
I don't think you would have stopped there, boy.
Listen.
That look in your face, I was like, oh.
But listen, I tell young people what I could have done, what I would have been well within my rights to do because of the amount of disrespect that he showed me right then. I told them I used my head. I tell them about the wisdom that Kwame Brown had, even at 18 years old, that's not what he did. And I told them about how I proved him wrong. And then wrote a poem about it and then I performed the poem. And
if you punched him, you'd have never got that opportunity.
But listen, this is what I'm saying. I used my position to be able to help. And young people all the time told me, hey, that story that you told me when you came to my school and you performed that poem stopped me from going off on this teacher. Good. It stopped me from going up. So I was saying those are the things where we can be impacts as athletes in our platform. Do you know what I'm saying?
We got a bunch of stories, man. You could tell them how to persevere and deal with coaches. And maybe once I get my studio and everything set, we'll just call and we'll have a segment where we just tell stories for the fans to hear. Because they need to hear something other than they can't or they're going to get chased by the police or this and that. Because my thing is, let's teach these kids to control their own destiny. I don't care about no car. I'm not going to walk out scared every day. I can't live like that. I'll go jump in a hole myself. I'm going to make sure I give a kid a code of conduct.
Yes, sir.
Whatever this cop is going to do, what can you do first?
Yes.
What can you do to control this narrative to where you get to the point where you can say, aha, you know what I mean? That what you just did was an aha to do.
No question. And it felt great doing it. Listen, it felt so
great doing that.
Man, it felt so great doing it.
We got to get past the bad part so you can get to the point where you can come back and say, you like all the rappers that say to the teachers that told them, oh, you ain't going to be nothing in life. You ain't going to do this. They're putting their hate, their insecurities onto a kid. Now, that kid grow up and become a great rapper and go back to the school and say, look at me now.
Right, that's right. That's what it is.
Instead of going off and hitting the teacher, instead of getting kicked out, prove them wrong.
And that's the difference between and I always tell them the winningless battle. The winningless battle, it was right there in the middle. So if I would have knocked Doug Collins' block off, that would have been a winningless battle for me.
I would have clapped and grabbed you at the same
time. That would have been a winningless battle. But the way that we handled it, that's winning the bigger war, and that's the part that's important right here. So I didn't kept you too long.
I applaud you for that. I applaud you for getting your get back.
But listen, that's what I'm saying. That's why that's why it's so important for us to tell these kind of stories that are motivational, and that's why because you'll hear people, I'm sure, that's saying, okay, they spending so much time on Stephen A. Smith. It's bigger than Stephen A. Smith. It's what he represents. And that false narrative and how it has a ripple effect on everything that we discussed today, you know what I mean? And how it affects. And
they don't understand. He's giving a lot of different players attention.
Yeah.
He didn't just stay on Kwame Brown. He's every black athlete that's done anything wrong, they had to go
tearing them down.
Yeah, they had to go through the buzzsaw. Stephen A. Such and such got a DUI. Go send Stephen A. By the time Stephen A. finished talking about this guy, he's on a minimum deal on a team begging to get a job.
So he's allowing himself to be utilized in a way to bring black men down, bring their value, their market value down, just like they did with Kwame Brown. And that's why we keep. But hey man, we got to stop it eventually. We going for a long time.
We can go. We're gonna do this again.
I'm good with it.
I'm gonna call you and we're gonna get together and we're gonna get together with some topics about sports, or we're gonna spend a day just talking about stuff that happened in the locker room. We can go over and say, do you remember that story? Jog my memory, and we can just do that. And just imagine how many sports guys gonna come in. It's gonna be about that.
There's so many, and then applying them to life, like we just did with the Doug Collins. They're applied to life, and they can be used to steer young people in the right direction.
Because so many people get caught up in what the other person said or what the other person did or could have did. Now, granted, Doug was absolutely wrong. I looked at you the same way. Like, we had people would have understood if we would have did what we did. But the fact of the matter is that how much strength people think that's weakness. Do you know how strong you had to be in order not to do what you could have done at 6'10", 6'11", well, 6'9".
6'11" now. We're gonna round it up. 6'11".
Do you know what you could have did to this guy? And it gave him some sort of power to know that physically he couldn't match you, but mentally he could not break you, because you was able to go get a nice contract to help mama's cooking and help your family.
That's right.
So that is what it's about. Not overreacting to what we all can tell stories of, well, he did this, they did that, the cop did this. How you react to it and how you prepare yourself. Get those things on your windows. Don't talk to no cop.
I agree.
I don't care if you smell like marijuana, whatever you're doing wrong, don't run. Go to jail for that day. You got caught. Go to jail. But don't leave your family.
And there's a good that Philando Castile's mother's pushing called the no reach pouch. And it's basically that you put everything in the pouch because you know what happened with her son.
You can order them online.
Reached. Right. Yeah. So all of those. So you know that's what it is, man. That's what it is.
I get put out.
Yeah, right. That's it.
And then you got to prepare the kids for this. Some cops are going to get upset about it.
No question.
You got to talk to me. You.
Right. There we go.
My attorney said I ain't got to talk to you. And now the world done went so Zoom and stuff like that. Right. You can Zoom call your attorney right then and there.
And you need to. You need to put it on to show you doing what you're supposed to do in full compliance.
How come no big people are talking about that? Can we put together a fund to where we can have attorneys on demand or something like that, to where they can just Zoom the attorney and hey, we right here, boom. I don't got to do no talking.
I don't have to do. There are.
I'm not gonna steal the idea now that I said it over the line.
No. There are some people. You know, for my next book, I interviewed you know, a few police officers, and I'm talking to them about programs that they're doing that same thing. There are a lot of police officers that realize that there is an issue, and they're trying to. I'm good. I got all the connections with them. I can connect you with
them. So we can. I want to shift the conversation from what the cops should do to show these kids how much power that they actually have. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I don't like to take so much credit for what I'm doing, because only thing I've showed is that, hey, you don't have to have a big production studio. Hell, you don't even have to have a great phone. I'll show you the other phone, iPhone 8. So you just got to be you. Don't be afraid and be original. So with these young boys, let's breathe life into them. Take control of your situation. Right. If you get caught doing something wrong, be man enough to go on down there and deal with the situation the right way. Let's have lawyers ready for that situation. Let's not be out here willy-nilly. But if a cop is doing you wrong, you shouldn't even be speaking to this cop. It should be on the door. It should be on demand, calling your cop or whatever. Get them on the phone. We got all these Jordans. We got all this other stuff. I'm not. Any attorney that I deal with, I better have your cell phone number, and I hope you answer your phone a lot.
Right.
Because I'm black in America. I don't need you to be asleep all day.
Right. I agree. So, hey, Corey Brown. Hey, it's always a pleasure. We're gonna do some more of it though, and I want to hear the rest when you put your podcast together and you get all your stuff that you're doing. Keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because it's. But also be careful, like what I said about the people attaching to you. Be careful with that. All right, so just we don't have to even say names. Just I'll say people, because there's gonna be a whole lot of people that's gonna try to use you to elevate themselves or elevate their agenda. Find out
who is who. I'm like, okay, do you want? I asked him, okay, what are you going to help me do with these kids?
It's tough.
I just want to help these kids because I want to breathe life into them with the stories that you just told, because I want them to understand athletes go through it too.
Yes.
Don't think just because of money that we're different than you. We go through maybe worse than you sometimes. Sometimes we get disrespected on the worst levels. And we have to show resolve. We have to stay calm. So let's teach these kids how to deal with bad situations when they get to an age where they're more mature and can handle things, so they can have families. These kids are letting little small moments in time and lack of preparation.
No question.
Ruin everything.
And they're ending up in correctional facilities like the ones that I like. Some of the reasons why some of them cats were there, I was like, oh my gosh, man.
Like what?
You know, like that.
You have left? Ain't nobody could try me.
It's horrible, bro.
Do you not know that they finna tell you to take your clothes off when you eat, when the shower? They finna try you.
It's horrible, man. It's horrible. But that's why being able to be a positive light is so important, though. But hey, we gonna wrap it up, man. Hey, appreciate you coming on the show.
You, my brother.
No, shout out to you too, man. Salute to you.